spotlighting the recent trends in industrial relations. And the panel in discussion, we will have three speakers: Shri Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC; Speaker 2, Shri K.S. Patro, ex-Director Personnel, Eastern Coalfields Limited; Speaker 3, Shri H.N. Mishra, Director Personnel, CCL; and the panel anchor will be Shri Rajesh Kamath, Founder, CCL, and co-founder, Chiranjeev Gurukul. And now I again request Khatik Sir, General Manager IR, to welcome our honorable speaker, H.S. Shamasundar, MD, Utkrist Kaushalya Foundation, CEO, PCS. Okay. H.N. Mishra Sir, Director Personnel, CCL. Our chief guest of the event, Shri Vinay Ranjan Sir, Director Personnel, IR, Coal India Limited, is with us. I request Keshav Rao Sir, Director Personnel, MCL, to once again welcome Sir to the second day of the conclave. Okay, now I request Khatik Sir to welcome Vinay Ranjan Sir to the day 2 of the conclave. Once again, welcome, sir. So we are hoping we'll again have a fruitful day 2 as it was yesterday. And starting with the first keynote speaker, session 4, Dr. Supriti Mishra, Professor, International Management Institute, Bhubaneswar. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce Madam to you all. Dr. Supriti Mishra is a postdoctorate from Stern Business School of Business in New York University and holds a PhD from IIT Kharagpur. She has extensively published papers in many journals. Currently, she works as a full-time professor in the Bhubaneswar campus of International Management Institute. Dr. Mishra also serves in the editorial board in different journals. Presently, she serves as the board of Odisha Agro Industries Corporation as an independent director. She has won several awards and accolades for her outstanding research in the areas of CSR and corporate governance. Ma'am, I request you to be on the stage and start with the deliberation. And I request Javed sir to escort ma'am to the dais. You want a laptop?
I am my own laptop.
Okay.
But just keep it here.
You want to keep here only?
I'll just keep it here.
Do you want a hand mic or this will be okay with you? Do you want a hand mic, ma'am?
Yeah. Very good morning, all of you. Am I audible and visible both? Yeah. I'm not visible, I know. Right. So I can see there. Right. Uh, I can come center. Okay, no problem. I thought that I will. Fine. I'll just. I have that. Right. So, esteemed director, personnel, MCL, esteemed director, CIL. I'm just not able to see your name now, sir, but Mr. Vinay Ranjan, and all the esteemed dignitaries on the dais, and all the executives from MCL and CIL. A very good morning to all of you. So the topic for me is investing in IR for ESG investors. So, and an academic perspective. So being a teacher, I'd probably like to start with the basics. Like, first let's try to understand why and what of ESG. Then what's the S in the ESG? And this S in the ESG is something which is actually linked with IR. And what are the different standards that are currently existing and the challenges in implementing those standards. So this is a very favorite topic of me because I have been doing research on this maybe from the time when we didn't even discuss about CSR and sustainability in India. So I did my PhD in 2003, and that time my topic of research was CSR and sustainability. So it has been a long years of research in this topic, and but still I'm trying to understand the basics of it. So I'll start with the basics first. So talking about why ESG? Why are we talking about ESG? The basic thing that we have been struggling with as businesses, particularly companies like you and many other private and public sector businesses, is that there is always this this profit maximization objective is under a severe attack from many quarters, including the government, the shareholders, the stakeholders, and everyone, right? And there is this debate about this shareholder versus stakeholder debate, right? So shareholder, if Milton Friedman was the one who talked about this theory of profit maximization, or the shareholder theory, where he said that the business of business is to do business. So they should be just doing business and looking into the interest of the shareholders and not beyond that, because that's what, that suits the most. But then there is this guy who also evaluated my thesis, Edward Freeman. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
I want to interrupt you because my guess is that some of the delegates may not know what ESG is.
I'll come to that, sir. I'll come to that. So that's why I said why and what of ESG. So I'll start with the basics only. I'm just giving a brief introduction before I get into the topic, right? Yeah. So this Edward Freeman, who is a professor, who is still is a professor in Darden School of Business, Virginia University, and I'm very fortunate that he also evaluated my thesis, my PhD thesis, is the one who introduced this concept of stakeholder into strategic management, right? He said that businesses should not be just looking at the shareholders' interest, but also multiple stakeholders, which includes your employees, which includes your suppliers, which includes many other, groups or people who are directly or indirectly affecting or getting affected by your business, right? That's the definition of stakeholders. So after that, there has been multiple stakeholders and their expectations on the organizations is also rising. Like there are also the media, they also want some kind of thing. Then there is this community. I know many of you would be struggling with how to satisfy the community in your CSR programs. So I'm also associated with many companies in their CSR training programs and projects and evaluation of that. So, and then of late, there also has been another thing which is known as social responsible investing, SRI. What is the socially responsible investing or social responsible investing is that these days investors are not just looking at the profit or the ROI of the companies, but also what are its ESG, right? So now what is ESG? So ESG, so this criteria is the one which is now looked into by many investors before they invest in funds or businesses, right? So what is ESG? ESG is a set of standards for a company's behavior used by socially conscious investors to screen potential investments. So this is given by Investopedia, right? So this is the definition, okay? So that means there are three parts. One is the environment, then the social, and the governance, right? So, what is happening? So, when I say ESG investing, and I think we are also dealing with ESG investing, investors, and the IR, right? So, when I talk about ESG investing, so what is happening is that this funds, we call them funds who are investing in different companies, the mutual funds, the brokerage funds. Then there are this nowadays there are this robo advisors. So robos are also acting as your investment advisors. So when they are scanning the different investment opportunities for you, like many of you would be investing in shares and stocks of companies. So when they do that, they actually screen those investments based on policies, and they are looking for companies which are responsible companies, right? Now what is this responsible companies? So they are basically trying to avoid companies which are engaged in risky or unethical practices, right? So maybe like we had heard like how Satyam was engaged in accounting fraud, and there are so many instances of that. So this ESG investing has become such huge that now investors are preferring this, and there is about 17.1 trillion investment in ESG bonds and stocks and shares, right? Which has just gone up from $12 trillion, which is just 2 years back the figure. And so there is a a very huge increase in that. So what is this ESG, right? So there are these three components. One is the environment, then second one is the social, and the third one is the governance. So the environment basically talks about the environmental criteria on the basis of which the investors or the investing funds, okay, they evaluate the companies. So the environmental criteria is like how a company is safeguarding the environment, including corporate policies towards sustainability, climate change, and so many things. Then the social criteria. The social criteria is basically how the company is managing its relationship with many stakeholders, including the community, the society, and all. Okay, and also the suppliers, the customers that are also included. Governance talks about the corporate governance principles that a company adheres to, right? So it talks about how is the board composition, do you have a woman director in the board or not, how is the, the difference between the pay package of the CEO and a line worker, so like that. There are many issues that talks about, and also the kind of audit principles that you have. Are you taking care of the minority shareholders' rights or not? So there are many things that comes under this. So now, before I get into the details, I'll just give you an example how I just told you how these investment firms or the mutual funds are looking into businesses which take care of this ESG criteria. Like I'll just illustrate that with an example. So this is a firm, a Boston-based mutual fund firm or asset management firm, which is known as Trillium Asset Management, and they manage about $5.6 billion investments. There, when they try to implement the ESG criteria, they preclude or exclude companies which are engaged in high risk areas. So I know all of you are engaged in coal. Now coal is under severe attack from all over the world, right? And even Mr. Modi has taken the place that India will phase out from coal energy. And I also know that it is a mandate, and MCL and CIL both are also getting into renewables. But then, it will take time when you scale up, right? So there is still time. But there are also many countries, like even specific cities like Chicago, they have closed all their coal companies, right? And there are many other countries which are actually banning coal as an energy, or thermal power as a source of energy. So this kind of funding agencies, what they do is that they look at companies who have exposure to coal or hard rock mining. In fact, mining is also known as a dirty industry, right? Particularly, you must have heard of these blood diamonds. So the diamond industry is also known as a dirty industry. So they need a certification that you have really not engaged any prisoners or any forced labor while mining the diamond, right? Nuclear or coal power, biotechnology, tobacco, then tar sands, weapons, firearms. These are certain companies which are under the scanner of this funding agencies or companies. And also, companies who are involved in controversies like human rights violation is one aspect. Then, are you violating the animal welfare? Or there, you have, like, we had issues like, I think we also had, some time back, Vedant was in news because there was a labor strike, and then they engaged police to douse that kind of strike by the laborers, and some laborers died. So those are actually coming under the scanner of these funding agencies. So when they are actually looking for companies or evaluating the companies, they're excluding these companies who are engaged in this kind of activities. Now, in contrast, so what they see, so I was just telling you about ESG. So what are those criteria? So this is just an example I'm giving. In fact, it includes many more things. So in environment, they would look at, are you publishing, let's say, sustainability reports or carbon disclosure report, or you have made your manufacturing activity in such a way that is reducing the use of virgin resources, finite resources, and also harmful pollutants and chemicals. Whether you are also taking measures to reduce the GHG emission, the carbon emission, and all of that, and whether you are also into renewable energy production. Governance, I just told you about the different factors under governance, which includes the board diversity also. Board diversity these days also include the presence of at least one woman director, which has been mandated by the Government of India. The clause 49, mandates that you have to have at least one woman in the independent, one independent director as a woman. Social, it talks about, so this is what is our focus. I'll get into it. Before that, let me just give you a brief idea. So social issues it includes the supply chain also. So social does not just talk about the community, okay, or the community in your surrounding areas. It also includes supply chain. It talks about the forced labor and the child labor. It also these days talk about the LGBTQ rights. Tata is one of the companies who have been very, very proactive, and they have already included LGBTQ rights in their workplace. They are taking special measures to ensure that they are given a workplace which is LGBTQ friendly, and in fact, they're also designing their washrooms, the toilets like that. So there is a toilet for the third gender also. So it includes all of this. So when we talk about the social issues, it talks about all that. And do you have a system in place to prevent sexual misconduct and fair wages? Fair wages, I understand that your company would be having a proper policy for your own employees, but this also includes the contractual workers and the workers engaged in your suppliers' locations. So you must also keep that in mind. So this is just an example. For example, when I was talking about how to evaluate the environmental criteria, let's say in the environment, we have two issues. I'm just taking two issues. One is the greenhouse gas emission, the other one is the energy efficiency. So how do you measure that? Because that is, it will boil down to that. So you can measure it in terms of how much. So I think sustainability reports are also all about that. You have to capture how much emission you had for the carbon dioxide, or let's say, nitrogen oxide, whatever you are emitting. Okay. So you kind of capture all of that and put that in your sustainability report, or what is the energy used per your square meter, like that. Okay. In case of social, I talked about all the policies, so I'm not getting into that. But the example, let's take about two examples. One is health and safety. The second one is the labor rights. So how do you measure that? Maybe you can see what are the employee accidents. I think, for you it's easier because workers are going to the mines, right? So I had the privilege of getting under the mines in MCL in Bulla. So I had gone there. So there is a lot of possibility of accidents happening. So what are your policies for that? To prevent it, and also to ensure, what kind of, corrective actions you take towards preventing it. Number of active controversies if you're talking about the sexual harassment policies and all that, right? Similarly, in case of governance also, the metrics could be in terms of how many independent members are actually independent, So how many independent directors are actually independent? Or are they linked to any of the chairman or the managing director or anyone, right? And executive pay ratio disclosures. So now let's come to our topic of today, the focus, which is the ESG. Okay. So IR basically is linked to that S in the ESG. So when we talk about the S, what exactly is that? It basically talks about your relationship with the internal and the external stakeholders, right? So the internal stakeholders, your employees, it could be your suppliers, it could be your, let's say, your vendors. They will be internal because they are directly linked to you with different kinds of business transactions. The external would be people beyond your system, right? Like could be the government, could be the community, the society, and like that, media, right? So we ask certain questions. Do you donate for different social causes? Do you, does your workplace reflect conditions which actually ensure employee safety and, health? They take care of the employees' health and safety. Does it also ensure that ESG standards are implemented in the supplier's location? Many of these international companies, like apparel companies like Gap, Nike, and all that, what they do is that, so they have their standards, right? These ESG standards. They also want to ensure, or in fact, that's one of the conditions when they engage with contractors who would be supplying them all these stitched materials, whether they are also adhering to those standards or not. If you do not adhere to those standards, then they will not take the apparels from you, right? So, and then, and do you also, how do you treat your customers? So, I told you about the socially responsible investing, basically talks about all of this, plus whether you have diversity, like these days DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion has become the new term to talk about the labor rights, worker rights and the employees rights. So community, do you have the community focus, social justice, then ethics and all that things. And also, are you also working towards fighting against the different kind of discrimination, including the racial discrimination, the sexual discrimination, and the gender discrimination? So, how you measure this ACE in the ESG? What are the factors you take into consideration? So, there are different kind of guidelines for this. All of you know about the OECD principles. So, OECD also has got certain guidelines to capture this social aspect of the ESG, right? So the well-being of people is actually central and in any of this or many of these guidelines, and people here include both your employees and workers and also the community, right? So OECD has got people well-being indicator and community and society well-being indicators. So the people well-being indicator talks about your employee standards, right? So for example, what kind of policies for hiring you have, what is the kind of turnover rate you have, and what kind of measures you're taking towards it. And what is the promotion policy? Is it a discriminatory promotion policy, right? They discriminator in the sense that your gender, the sexual orientation and the racial or the caste discriminations, right? Then what kind of earnings you ensure for your employees, and here the employees would also include your direct and indirect employees. Learning and skill opportunities that you give to your employees. What is the kind of policies you have for the health and for ensuring the health and safety indicators of the employees? What kind of social support you have created for your employees? Then what are the kind of measures you have taken for work-life balance? And are you also taking the employee's voice and feedback into consideration while designing the organization policies? For example, in the Europe, the workers' union is a very strong stakeholder. So much so that they sit in the boardroom discussions and they drive the policies for the organization, particularly the auto workers. You must have heard some time back, there was this auto worker union strike in Europe, and that hampered the auto production, the manufacturing. Okay. And they only bent when they were called for the meeting in the boardroom discussions, right? Community and society well-being indicators include three factors majorly: economic, social, and human. So economic is that are your policies also, in some way or the other promoting the country's growth and development. Human rights, for example, sometimes we talk about the strategic CSR, so or strategic ESG. What is exactly that? Let's say you are a bank. So, are you also taking initiatives to educate the community around you about the different banking terms and all that, or are you also helping the small and marginal companies or small and marginal holding companies? So, like that. So that is the strategic ESG, and the social would be about your the different kind of political relationship that you have, and whether you are also trying to influence the government decisions through it. Like we often talk about the Reliance group of companies, but but those are all overrated conclusions. Now, the thing is that why should we link ESG with IR? That's a basic question. Why is it linked? So I'll just quote Nika Chik Obi, the director of Sustainable Fitch is a company which does the credit rating of different countries and companies. So she says that labor issues can be credit relevant through direct financial, operational, regulatory, and reputational impacts. So labor issues, any disruption in your labor issues can also have a huge impact on your reputation. Like the incident I was quoting about Vedant, and that really affected the reputation and image. In fact, I don't know if you know it. So when Vedant was also having its problems in Odisha, in the Niyamgiri mines, there was protest in London Stock Exchange because the Alcan Group is listed in London Stock Exchange. So there was protest there, and that affects their share prices, their company's valuation, and all that. So all this can have direct links. So they're strongly linked to wider social and economic trends. Workers are also community members, your union members, voters, customers, and investors. So that's why you should be concerned about it. So these labor issues have basically broad social linkages. And they are also influenced by a lot of internal and external factors. In the external factors comes all those macroeconomic factors, like if there is unemployment rate in the economy, that will also affect the employment opportunities for the workers, and that will also, so if you are not creating more opportunities for them, that will also affect reputation. So like that. So macroeconomic, political, and demographic trends also influence the labor relations with companies. And because labor is also a key stakeholder, so there could be wide-ranging issues, and that would also include the disruptions in the supply chain. All of us saw during the COVID, when the migrant workers returned, what kind of disruptions we had in the supply chain. And that was just not in India, that was a worldwide phenomenon, right? The worldwide supply chains were disrupted, and the key factors were the workers, the laborers. So then also, when like I was telling you about these investors and the asset managers, they are also looking at topics such as health and safety, supply chain issues, and all that when they evaluate the companies. So there are basically two important things. There are many other, I'll get into that. But just to start with, the collective bargaining and the labor negotiations, and the health and safety incidents, like the accidents taking place, the different kind of issues that happen. So and also the DEI issues. So am I on time? Like I'm on time. Perfect. So all these issues actually are basically they basically interplay with one another. So the farms issues, the labor issues are directly linked to your valuation, to your reputation, to your image, and your ROI, right? So and this labor has both a direct and it's both a direct and indirect constituent. Like I told you, it also includes your contractors, your suppliers, your contractual workers, and all of that. So I'll just get into the standards, right? So there are different standards. How do you really, evaluate ESG? So there are different standards to measure it. Many of these standards basically capture this S factor, okay? The social factor we just discussed. And they revolve around the international human rights, the rights of workers, and all that. So the focus is on that. The focus is on the social standards and protection of workers' rights. And all these are very, very closely linked with one another. So there are various frameworks. I'll just discuss three of them, right? I just also told you about the OECD's definition of social, and I will discuss about three standards. One is the UN Sustainability Development Goals. Many of you would be knowing that. UN SDGs. There are 17 goals that United Nations has given to the different countries of the world, and they have to achieve it by 2030. In fact, the targets are keeping on shifting. First, they had kept it as 2015, then they made it 2025, now it is 2030. So there are 17 goals, which talks about many issues like no poverty, hunger, eradication, and many other things. But the eighth goal of SDG is what is directly linked with the S factor in the ESG. That talks about the decent work and economic growth. So it basically, the focus of this goal is improving economic productivity, creating a safe working environment, reducing unemployment, youth unemployment, and protection of women workers and the migrant workers, and eradication of modern slavery. Now, modern slavery is another thing that has come up, and that's also being discussed. And there are countries who already have formulated laws to prevent modern slavery, and India is a also we have the number of modern slaves, so that's also like the number is quite huge. So that probably would be the next thing that would be coming to all of you, because you are also directly working in a sector which deals with those kind of people, because you never know the contractor that you have engaged, the laborers who are working for him or her, okay, are they modern slaves? Are they being bounded by the bonds? Like how? So it's also time to review the bonds and all that things, right? So that's a different thing. So there is also another standard known as the Global Reporting Initiative Standards. So this Global Reporting Initiative Standards, I will talk about it in the next slide. But Global Reporting Initiative standard also uses this Goal 8 as includes Goal 8 as one of their reporting requirements. So Global Reporting Initiative Guidelines is basically a guideline that has been formulated for capturing different ESG issues. Actually, that they had framed it, that was a very old standard that was framed way back in 98, 99. And that time they were talking about the CSR standards. Now they have become more broad, and they are including all the environmental, social, and governance indicators. Now, there are many sub points in Global Reporting Initiative, but I have just included the points which are actually relevant in the context of the S factor in the ESG. So GRI 401, which talks about the employment conditions, 402, which talks about the labor management relations, so occupational health and safety, training and education, diversity and equal opportunity. So you can see the list is there, right? So all these, guidelines of Global Reporting Initiative that captures the S factor in the ESG. Then all of you know about the ILO, right? International Labor Standards, which is applicable to all of you, all of the manufacturing companies all over the world. So they basically have conventions and recommendations. So conventions are basically, they have legal effect after ratification by a member state of the ILO, okay? And recommendations are not open to ratification, but they can be treated as guidelines. So there are basically 8 conventions that stand out because of their fundamental importance in case of ESG. So there is this convention number 29, which talks about the forced labor. So you have to go to those conventions and find out what are the provisions under that, and you have to adhere to those things if you are planning to get into ESG. Then convention number 87, which talk about freedom of association and protection of right to organize. So it's basically talking about the labor union and unionization. Then convention number 98, that talks about again the same thing, the right to organize and bargaining collectively. And then Equal Remuneration Act, abolition of forced labor, and there are all this minimum age, worst forms of child labor, and all those different things. And there is also some governance conventions like labor inspection in industry and commerce. So you also have to, so nowadays also there are ESG auditors. So we can come and they are also known as the social auditors. So they can come and audit your factories and different manufacturing sites or mining sites, and they can issue you certificate of qualification. ILO also has defined what would be known as a decent workplace. So this decent workplace has got about 10 indicators. So the 10 indicators talks about employment opportunities. It talks about what should be the adequate earning and the productive work, like that would include whether you are also contributing towards alleviation of poverty, and what kind of a median wage you have, and then decent working time. So there should be whether you are workers are getting paid for overtime or not. Then combining work and family, so basically the work life balance. Then works that should be abolished, like for example, child labor and forced labor. Then stability and security works. So what is the kind of job tenure you are giving? This is the issue in many private sector companies where the employments are tenure based. So you have contracts and all that. So what is the kind of policies for that? Then equal opportunities, that is equal opportunity for both men and women employees, safe working environment, the kind of social security measures you are adopting, and social dialogue, workers and employers representation in the decision making, right? So are you also ensuring that employees and the workers are part of your decision making? So there are many challenges. So while implementing all that, one is that many of these reports, the standards that I said, and the so that means now I just gave you 3 to 4 standards. So there will be also many other private companies would be also coming forward to do your ESG auditing and all that, right? So each of these companies and the parties, they have got different standards for them. So now what happens is that most of them are very much qualitative. So quantification becomes a problem. So we probably need to have many metrics based, reporting system where we would be probably trying to kind of quantify the different indicators, right? I'll also give you example of that. For example, when we're talking about the carbon credits or the social audit, there we generally have a proper quantification of it. How much emission of, let's say, carbon dioxide and all that, right? Similarly, for the social issues also, there has to be a proper quantification. Then that would help. So both the metrics-based reporting measures and the quantification basically talks about that. So for example, let's say you will say that with our community engagement, we are able to get about 10% of the children into school of a particular village, let's say. So there are about, let's say, 30% dropout. Out of those 30% dropout, we ensure that 10% went back to school, like that. So some kind of a quantification and metric-based thing. Then the reporting format again. So what is happening is that all these different farms, they've got different reporting formats. So there is no particular standardized format, right? So how to also kind of converse that to one. And there is something known as a material disclosure. What is a material disclosure? Material disclosure is a substantial likelihood that a reasonable shareholder would consider it important. That means when you are giving disclosures, that would basically indicate that the shareholders would consider that as a pertinent information while evaluating your company's stocks and shares, right? Generally, these material informations are given as negative disclosures, right? For example, we generated this much of pollutants and things like that. This could also be positive. There also could be positive material disclosures, right? For example, you can say that, okay, we kind of, conducted the training program or the DI inclusion for the LGBTQ community, and so many percentage of the community was integrated into the system, like that. And so the standardization is another thing, because every company and every farm which is engaged, or even NGOs who are engaged in this kind of standardization reporting, they all of them have got different formats. Now it becomes very difficult to compare one with another. So it's like comparing orange with apples, because one is probably let's say entirely qualitative format, another one is a quantitative format, another one is a mix of that. So how do you compare between the companies particularly when you are evaluating the investments, right? So that is another challenge. So creating a kind of some defined formats would be probably helpful, right? So these are the different aspects of ESG and understanding it, and the standards and the challenges. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. So any question, I would be happy to answer.
Any question from anyone? Mic, please.
Next. Yeah.
Occupational segregation by sex. What does this mean?
This is occupational segregation by sex. So it would basically mean that we have got the different genders now. So what is the kind of opportunities that you have ensured for each of the genders, and whether there is equity and parity in that? For example, in some organizations, there is this racial discrimination or the caste discrimination. So, how are you looking at the marginalized sections, including the women? So that is. Yeah.
It's not a question, but information to all the audience. Coal India Limited has been uh, publishing their business responsibility report since 2011-12. SEBI has mandated the top 1,000 listing companies in India should mandatorily publish ESG report by 22-23.
Yeah.
But Coal India has gone ahead and they have published a report of 21-22. Already we have a first, which is there in our website. So I will request all the participants to go to Coal India website and see the 21-22 report already listed in our website. And ESG, as emphasized by ma'am, that social S. And we as a fraternity, personal fraternity, are responsible for the S factor. And this is the future. Everybody is now talking about ESG. So as we are talking, we have signed MOU with IIM Nagpur for training 300 our managers on ESG. 2 batches already happened. It's a 5-day program in IIM Nagpur for training ESG. So this is the initiative on ESG Coal India. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you define modern slavery?
Modern slavery is actually a very recently included thing. So they are basically talking about bonded labors and workers who do not have any kind of social security given by the organization in which they are working. There are no fixed working hours, so they work in very unsafe working conditions. All of them would be coming under modern slavery. So we, though many of our labor codes would actually, we can find a similarity with the Modern Slavery Act that has come up. But then the Modern Slavery Act has been already enacted in UK and a couple of other countries. So yeah.
Any more questions from anyone? So that's it. Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much.
This was a very informative presentation, I must say. And now I request Shri Vinay Ranjan sir, Director Personal IR, CIL, to present a memento to Dr. Supriti Mishra ma'am. Please give a big round of applause.
Yeah.
Before moving forward to the next session, we have among us our honorable speaker, Shri Kalol Datta, ex-ALC. So I again request Shri Vinay Ranjan sir to welcome our honorable speaker to this conclave. Please, sir. So moving forward, the keynote speaker session 5 is Shri H.S. Shamasundar, MD Utkrush Kaushalya Foundation, CUPCS. His topic is spotlighting the R, the recent trends in industrial relations. So I request Sir to come on the dais and proceed with his presentation. Yes, please, sir. No. Okay, no.
Well, good morning to all of you. Good morning to all of you. Thank you. Thanks to my very good friend, Mr. Vinay, and to all my other friends as well, and also to Mr. Kesha Rao, Mr. Mishra ji, Mr. Manish ji, and also to Mr. Swain ji, and all the stalwarts in IR. Yeah. So thank you very much for this session and opportunity, and thanks to my good friend Mr. Rajesh Kamath and my co-other speaker Annapurna ji as well, and my other speakers of the day. Friends, is IR a science or an art?
It is a combined effort, sir.
Combined?
Combined
Art and science.
are the multidisciplinary approach.
Okay. So we can call it as an art, the art of negotiating, the art of reading the COD, and the science of managing the things, the chemistry, the physics of the people, and how the biology. How many of us really, give a lot of impetus on the biology factor while negotiating, or while collective bargaining, or when we are, virtually, in the tripartite meeting or bipartite meeting or any of these committees? How much importance do we give for this biological behavior of the people? 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%? Sorry, if it is uncomfortable question, I want to keep this pretty interesting. That is the reason. Yeah? No gender bias. Okay. So friends, see, I started my career, let me tell you, as an ordinary daily wage worker. I was working for soap factory, Mysore Sandal soap. Beautiful soap factory which is still existing. Started by Dr. Maharatna M. Vishweshwaraya. And when I was working, it was something like Earn While You Learn scheme. And that is where exactly I saw what is union and what exactly is IR. I was just, a very lower position and things like that. So I was just going through what is this, how do the union leaders really react, and how does the management react, and all these things. Later on, I became the leader of HMS. I was the union leader for HMS and BMS as also, but in a government sector. But still, everything was fixed by the government. But still, we had other welfare schemes for which we are, fighting with the management. So later on, I became deputy manager, DGM, GM, corporate general manager, vice president, director, and president HR. So that's how the transfer. So I was on this side as well as the other side as well. So let us see, my other earlier speaker was just speaking about ILO. So what does the ILO really says? Talks about IR, because none of us go to the definitions of IR in a deep way. But when it comes to the international arbitration, they always refer to the ILO. So industrial relations deal with either relationship, both between state and the employers and the workmen. So the three actors, as all of us know, all of us sitting here are all stalwarts in IR. But there are also some of the youngsters here who are just in the groove as well. So this is what it says: and relationship between occupational organizations themselves. So between the employers itself, the IR also takes. Now, one of the labor economists, see there are a lot of capital economists, labor economists. So these labor economists, they give new definitions which the ILO also follows and which becomes a mantra. So what does Richard Lester, he says is, international relations involves attempts in arriving solutions. See, IR is equal to solutions. IR is equal to not a problem. So the first thing, when we are dealing with the unions, it is only the solutions and not the problems or something like that. So it's a conflicting objective between the objectives and the values. The employees always wants some value, whereas the company wants to go ahead with their objectives. Profit versus social gain. For the organization, it is always the profit, what is the productivity we got, and for the workmen and for the other people, it is only the social gain. What is my status in the society? How much do I take back home? And what is the level of what is my level in the, in the organization? So that's how it is. Discipline versus freedom. Organization wants discipline, where the workman wants freedom. And authority versus industrial democracy. See, there are two things. Authority versus industrial democracy is one. Bargaining authority versus industrial democracy. See, there's a thin line between these two things. And also conflicting interests of the individual, group of community, group and the community. So there, once again, the three actors. Once again, the group and the individual employee. So IR also deals, it's basically the individual problems that gives rise to the larger problems and the community as well. Bargaining versus cooperation. See, always, we need cooperation. They also, look for cooperation as well. So this is where the IR really goes. And modern era of basically the dynamics of managing relation with. Now the biggest challenge is how are we dealing with the people, especially with the IR and ER post-COVID situation. See, now we had this industrial revolution and all. Now every organization is talking about pre-COVID and post-COVID, because this has really changed the big dynamics of the entire industrial working. See, yours is a very one of the fantastic organizations, Coal India Limited, hats off. But there are other industries as well, which are totally very, very, very thin, very slimmerish in their IR, ER, though they are manufacturing organizations. Having worked in nearly 21 different types of organizations, industries rather, I worked in manufacturing, IT, BT, BPO, LPO, distillery, mining, to a certain extent, biotechnology, in real estate, media. I was also head of a very large, news media as well. I was heading about 900 reporters, chief reporter, crime reporter, all these people. So when I look at them, so the dynamics of pre-COVID and post-COVID has changed in a big way. Especially now, how are we dealing with the millennials is a big challenge. See, there are three: Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, then millennials. So now many of the union leaders, I just met a union leader the other day. He said, I am from a recognized union. And what is the age? 29 years, 25 years. And they say, sir, they do not talk about the labor laws. They're talking about the different type of facilities what has to be given. And they say, forget about the labor laws. It will always be there. So one of the biggest challenge in the IR is dealing with the millennials in the newer context. And all of us know trade union is a worldwide movement. And basically trade union goes akin with the industrialization. Industrialization, now for example, IT, BPO, LPO, that is coming up in a big way in many of the cities now. There is also a union for IT, BT, BPO and all. In fact, I met the India head of the union leader by name Karthik Shekhar. He says, sir, recently I presented a big about the Indians IT situation in the UN. So, I mean, whatever we do here, it is going, worldwide now. So, there is also a union, trade unionism, which goes akin with the industrialization, with the new industries as well. In fact, I was part of the negotiation that was going on between the government, the gig employees, the gig employers, the workmen, and the government. And basically Zomato, Flipkart. I mean, there are nearly about 3 lakh people, working, and many of them are part-time, many of them are full-time. And the type of COD what they gave to the government, and the way the employers were really, reacting to the union leaders with the gig employers was very haphazard. I mean, that shows the industry is yet to mature. So here there's a new which goes sine qua non, that is the akin with the industrialization of the other types of industry as well. See, now basically the IR is not for, of course, because everybody's minimum wage is there, Equal Remuneration Act, everything is there. Now people are more and more concentrating on the health and also on the safety, not safety of the job. Because today, here we see people working for 30 years, 36 years, 20 years and all. In other industries, if anybody stays for 3 years, they are going to give a bonus. Long-term bonus, it is called as. 3 years, anybody stays, there is a long-term bonus. So even there's a long-term bonus, you gave him 15,000 rupees. So why are you giving 10,000 rupees for this candidate? And especially go on the performance appraisal. So many, they have knotted themselves with so many, their own knots. So here, now the IR is also concentrating more on the healthy and safety aspect. And now it is not the general employee, it is a compassionate employee relations that has been happening across the industries. So, I mean, I'm not talking about very organized organizations like Coal India, Steel India Limited, or Ultratech Cement, the cement industry, something like that. But I'm talking about the other industries as well, focusing on the highly formalized organizations like yours as well. Now, what is happening now? Digitally close. Recently, there was a town hall meeting of the trade union leaders, of the local trade union leaders on WhatsApp and Teams. They said, no, we don't go to our office. We have, and many of the CODs were sent on email, number one, and they were discussing on Teams. It was not virtually speaking one-on-one. It was speaking on the Teams and also on the Zoom as well. So many of the discussions are also going on, and socially distanced and disseminating information and level of understanding is a big challenge in IR. So how are you exactly going to know what is the next move of the person? At least here we have some eye contact. Here we know what is going to happen and all these things. Where on the Zoom, what are we going to do? Where are they speaking from? Is there any other person along with them? We will not be knowing. In fact, in one of the we had placed one employer person in the union. This one in an incognito manner. So there was also a rival union guy along with our own recognized union person dictating the terms. You ask about this. You talk to him about, ask him to come on this one. No, it's some of these are challenges, especially when we are negotiating things like that. So in the information age, an agrarian and many coal power essential target, it's something like home, working from home, managing, and especially from working from home, nearly about 5 lakh employees are working from home. Maybe different industries. I know one organization where they have around 2.5 lakh of employees, and nearly 90% of them work from home. Now, what is the who will pay their electricity, who will pay their bandwidth charges, and how is their work-life balance happening? And because creche is not there, because they work from home, they have small kids. So huge problems that really got thrown in the area of IR. Even that was basically a service company, in fact. So how are we going to manage? And recently, one of the research, about 3,000 researchers in 600 universities, they have come out, and the lessons. What are the lessons that we have learned post-COVID? And how is the IR situation, and how is it really has to be dealt, is what they have done. And it had a great bearing on the future for the next 10 years. How will the IR situation really be? And especially in the emerging challenge for HR is the innovative linking. See, now everything is linked to learning. It was not only earning. Now every earning is linked to learning. Of course, earlier we had unskilled, skilled, semi-skilled, highly skilled labor, minimum wages was there and all these things. Now, even according to the new code, labor law code, in case if it comes to effect, there also they talk about reskilling and skilling. So now tomorrow, everything will be, related to the skilling, and everything will be related to the learning for earning. And what is the productivity? It was earlier, it used to go based on the number of years of experience, and what is the influence that person has in the how critical the person is in the department and all. Now this is going to change in a big way, because one is the organizations also has a very aspirational growth. At the same time, the employees as well. See, what used to happen earlier, growth was there, aspiration was there, but now the aspiration of the organization is also very high. So in the wake of these things, and one of the things is the migrant workmen. See, today, earlier migrant workmen was hardly people from Karnataka. In Karnataka, they used to come from Tamil Nadu or Andhra. Now people are coming from northeastern states. So here in every city, in every we are having this migrant workers issue. In fact, one of the very powerful MP, when one of the very powerful minister was just speaking on the migrant workers during the first COVID. Suddenly, I got a call from the secretary of the MP, who is very famous in I don't want to name, who is very famous in litigation and things like that, and always wins the case and all. So his secretary rang me and said, "Hey, Sham, the minister is speaking about the migrants issue and things like that. Do we have a law?" Friends, in 1979, Parliament has passed the Migrant Workers Act, and in that very clear this one is there, how a migrant workers has to be has to be treated, and what is the norms for migrant workers and all. So I just gave that small snippets to him, and then they discussed that. So one of the biggest transformation that is happening with the migrant workmen, and migrant workmen, some of them are working in a very critical positions as well, in very critical operations as well. What in case tomorrow they are not there, and how are we going to build up that? And another thing is that on the cultural divide, today, my dear friends, the huge IR problem comes with the cultural divide. Earlier, if it is a one unit of a factory or whatever, same persons used to be there. Now it's not like that. We are, believe it or not, in some of my clients' place, people from German and India, they're working together, especially Tata Marco Polo. Many of you must be knowing, though it is situated in Dharwad, people from Brazil work from, along with the Dharwad people. He doesn't know except Dharwad Kannada, and he doesn't know nothing about English. He speaks only Brazilian. And the culture, there's a huge culture divide when there is an IR problem as well. And skill building and soft skills. See, today in the IR, soft skills is playing a very major role. How many of us really, talk about presentation skills to the union leaders? How many of us really talk about presentation skill to the community, Jilla Parishad, Jilla Panchayat president? How many to the to the other leaders of the local community? Do we talk about soft skills? Not at all. So today this is playing a very major role with reference to IR and socio-political turmoils. Today the government, see, earlier there was some sort of an understanding between the governments, maybe central, state, and the trade unions. Today there's a huge divide between the government, between the state government, between the central government and the trade union per se. So there's a sort of change that has happened even with the attitude, with the socio-political changes that has happened even in the industry as well. So all of us know, Tata is a pioneer of Rusi Modi. We have heard about him, how he used to, handle strikes and all these things. Of course, they're trendsetters. And basically, one of the foundation of direct communication is basically three things. These three are the very big mantras, which I even keep talking to the community leaders, to the trade union leaders, everybody. It's basically the honesty, sincerity, and the trust. Every IR problem is solved only on the trust. If there's a mistrust, everything gets missed. And large manufacturing and service sector providing are not only political, physical safety. Friends, this is what this has made a very big impact and change in one of the very large automobile manufacturing company, which is worldwide. So the head of HR says, and which they have implemented, they have started giving even awards who are really, initiating these things for the large number of the employees. So one is mental, emotional, social, and financial safety. See, today IR is not talking only about the financial, about the about the perquisites, whatever given, even mental. In fact, when one of the biggest thing which one of my friends, H.N. Srinivas, did was when the 26/11, when that turmoil took place, a lot of people, they had to, through TISS, they had to do a lot of initiatives with the mental statures as well. So, how many of us, as an IR experts, really concentrate on the mental stability of the not only of the employees, even their families as well? And families doesn't mean whom they stay with them, who are influencing them. Friends, very, very, very important. The people who come to us do not come with their own mind. They get influenced. So with their mentality, how are we mapping them as well? In fact, this is a very crucial thing which we did, and we are pretty successful. Who is influencing this person? Why is this point coming up in this industry from this person? It's a very this one. And also the emotional. Our good friend Annapurna, she spoke about emotional intelligence, how it really happens, and social and financial safety. See, all of us provide loans, all of us, but are we really conducting some sort of a financial balance sheet of the employee? In the IR, when we spoke in one or two negotiations about the financial balance sheet of the employee of the sector by sector, they were really flabbergasted, let me tell you. So this is another big point that is coming up in a big way in the transformation of the IR. And there's a big shift even in the focus of the government. Of course, my government friend is there, who was there earlier. So there's a shift in the government, industries and trade unions. There's a huge big shift, even in the government. So in fact, I'll just share one point of here, sir. In fact, many of the government says no tolerance for strike, no tolerance for lockout. And if anything, in section 25O is a sort of forgotten thing, closure of industries. They say, how can why don't you still run the industry? We are going to support you. So even the largest company like Titan, which gives twice bonuses and all, even there was some sort of a strike that happened a couple of years back. And even Bosch, recently, they had in sit-in strike and things like that. So, and then the government, when they pitched in, then they bought people like us, the government appointed people like us to negotiate with the union and say how best, the IR can be resolved with. So all of us know it is only facilitation Raj now. License Raj is gone. Everything is there on the unit, but still there's a sort of facilitation that still goes on. So increase in private industries rather than core and startup. See, today startups are coming up in a very big way, and hardly 5 employees, 10 employees working on a lot of. Recently, there was a manufacturing company that started, and actually in the older economy, at least 300 people should have been employed. Believe it or not, my dear friends, hardly 20 people are working. Hardly 20 people. So that is how the change has taken place, And even there is no canteen. Now one of the things government is also thinking is, if the 10 companies come together and have one common canteen in a particular area, maybe some large industrial estate, they are going to inspect that one and license that particular canteen to serve to all the other industries. No, industries need not have their own canteen, something like that. So increase in private sectors and core sectors are gone. For example, the major industries have closed. Some of the very major industries which we used to see is totally closed. A lot of private sectors have been coming up in a big way, and especially even in the core areas. In fact, I was invited by DRDO, all the director generals of all the DRDOs, and each DRDO, you must be knowing, it's more than 1 lakh crores, 2 lakh crores and all. What is the performance appraisal of the Indian DRDO, Japanese and German? So this was and US based NASA and things like that. So why? Because they wanted to outsource whatever DRDO is manufacturing to the private sector. Of course, it got reversed and those things happened. So this threat is always there with the public sector. What in case they privatize in a very big way? What in case they outsource? So, because the products that is being manufactured by DRDO was more costlier than what they were able to import. So, what will happen to the large number of employees, the workmen, the contract workmen, and all these things? So that was a big change. So now the increase in private industry has also been coming up, and change in minds of the workmen and the stakeholders. Today, the workman doesn't talk about much about what used to happen about 20 years back, or 30 years back, or even 40 years back. Now the mindset is totally changed. Now they talk about how can we live very happily, and how can we will you help us for the next job somewhere, even in the manufacturing, and what is the new machinery you are importing to replace us. So these are things. And even the stakeholders. Today, stakeholders, they say, tomorrow I can sell this company and buy one more company. And tomorrow I can invest with 2-3 other companies as well. So that is how what is happening. And shift, very, very important, friends, my dear friends, is transitional to transactional. Today, IR is going towards transactional rather than transitional. Transition has happened to an extent, but transactional is very, very important that is going. And all of us know, I mean, many of you might have dealt with these people, and many of you might have negotiated, many of you might be even having known these people very closely, very, very ferocious. And if they come and sit, even the government used to shake, even the HR heads used to shake. And believe it or not, some of the names where I used to negotiate with, I used to at least study for about 1 week, line by line, full stop, comma, everything, and also have all-round discussion with other union leaders about the other person, and then go for a sitting, talk about COD and things like that. Some of the union leaders like, BT, why I'm giving these names for the youngsters who are here, they should know some of these names. They're all, they're dadas in the trade union movement itself. And because of them, new laws also have come in the Trade Union Act and also in the ID Act. Some of the things were inserted as well. So BT Randev, Datta Samant, Kusheran, MS Krishnan, whom I used to deal with, is CPI guy, and Sinthan, Surya Narayan Rao, CPM, who did a very big strike for MICO, and it went on for a very long time. And Arendo Bhushan, Bardhan, BP Wadia, another big name in the trade union, this one, Tengadi, Diwan, Chaman Lal, and another firebrand whom I knew somewhat, not very closely, was Dr. George Fernandez, was also the railway union leader. And his brother Michael Fernandez was the union leader for all the office associations, the ITA and other things. Very big names and very tough to deal with common sense. I'll tell you, these people had extremely good common sense, especially when we are dealing with the unions, especially when we're dealing with very tough guys, my dear friends. The common sense or the native brain works in a very big way. It is not the rules, it's not the regulation, it's not anything. It is the common mind that really works. And some of the trade union leaders have become president of India. They have become vice presidents. In fact, V.V. Giri, Varahagiri, Venkatagiri, he became the vice president of India. He was a trade union leader. Neelam Sanjeev Reddy was a trade union leader. And recently, one more trade union, which I negotiated when I was the head of DTDC, head of across India, was Bangaru Dattatreya. Now he's the governor of one of the states. And R. Venkatraman was also the trade union leader in Tamil Nadu. So active. One more thing that the change is active judiciary. See, what you said now, the collegium has also taken over. Earlier, the judge's appointment was totally different. Now, a lawyer, an advocate with a particular standing can directly become a judge. Earlier, this was not there. Now, this transformation has happened, and many of my friends, were advocates, lawyers in the labor area. They became judges, and when they started giving decisions, it was some sort of a moderate one. I'm not talking about the judgments. There was a transformation in the IR scenario, because when a judge who was earlier a management consultant and a lawyer sitting there, and delivering a judgment after going through all the points of the cases. It's totally different than a fellow, than a gentleman or a person person who becomes a judge after elevation from junior court to higher court to labor court to higher court. That's a totally different aspect. And even the government missionaries are directly in touch. Let me tell you, one of the recently in one of very large automobile factory, the government was directly in touch with the employees, not the trade union leaders. The government, the minister himself used to call the employees and say, and believe it or not, one of the cases, the minister directly also went to railway station, to convince the employees of a particular union. I mean, there is a change that has happened with the government mentality, because for them, earlier, where can anybody see a minister, a cabinet minister in the railway station or in a hotel, negotiating with the employees directly when the union leader is there? So it's a totally different. That change has also been happening, and even the government machinery, judiciary, and things like that. Okay, and decentralization of large units and trimming of white workforce. Now there's a huge trimming of workforce. I think so many positions are to be filled up in many places as well. Now the large units have been subdivided, put into various states, put into various this one, So that division is also there, with which IR is being totally. Now earlier it was not like that. There were a conglomeration of union leaders that used to come. Now hardly one or two people will come, and the other things. So rise in contract manufacturing. Now, with the advent of the manufacturing companies coming up in the private sector, the contract manufacturing has taken a big place there now, and outsourcing of core and non-core jobs. For example, many of the why trade union is not very strong now, because many core and non-core jobs have also been outsourced. So that is another big thing, and very, very, very important, my dear friends, that there is a dismal reduction of the permanent employment today. Hardly 30 to 50% are permanently employed. All the others are either contract, and now whatever which I would tell later on. So all these things are happening now. There is a flexibility and tolerance enforcement authorities, and even the authorities, even if we go to ELC, DLC, or any of this, so there is some sort of a tolerance now. Now there is some sort of a level playing game now, and though rules and regulations are there, it's outside the purview. And one more thing that has erupted, a disruptive thing that has happened in the IR, is that on the globalization, liberalization, privatization, especially globalization and technological changes. As I said, one of the companies which was supposed to appoint about 300 workmen and 300 people, hardly 20 people. So the technology has taken over. So that's the another. So IR has been, there's a change in the shift in this one there, and displacement of labor with reference to job losses. Though we talk about job gain, there's a huge number of job losses today, my dear friends. Huge. You just can't imagine. In India itself, I think so people have more than about 3 to 4 lakh people have lost their jobs. But where are they? Let's see later on. Destabilization of wage structure. Now earlier, whatever we saw, the difference between whatever the Madras High Court and the Rajasthan High Court, they give on minimum wages. And today, the definition of wages itself is totally changed. The definition of the components of the wages, it's totally changed. So even there, a lot of studies have to be done even by the union and even by the employers as well. And basically the wage structure and shift in skill and occupation. That's very, very important. There's a huge paradigm shift that has happened with reference to skilling, and even the occupational jobs as well. So that is why, and the composition, today the composition of labor is very heterogeneous. It is not very ambiguous. It is very heterogeneous. So this is where the big change has taken place. And one more biggest problem is that there is no succession planning with the unions. Whereas in the employers, there is succession planning, other public sector, there is succession planning to a certain extent. But in the unions, there is no much succession, whether we see IITU, CITU, or there is no exact, that caliber succession planning has not happened. So the person who takes over, is not of that grit. That is what, and some are very strong as well. And aging workforce. Now, what has happened now? The younger workforce, they are not much bothered about the union, labor, that, this, and all negotiations. They say, "This is what we want. Are you able to ready to give?" And here is our representative. And in fact, I had to start 2-3 unions, being a consultant in 2-3 organizations. I said, "We are dealing with large number of people. Let us start a union, but don't affiliate to any political party or with any other trade. Let you have your own karmachari." This one. So that's when there is also a aging factor of the union members. Once when this generation goes, the new generation of union workers is totally different. Their thinking mentality is totally different because of the changing environment. So labor enforcement and authorities are also, labor enforcement are also silent spectators to a certain extent when politics comes into it. When politics really comes there, the labor enforcement recently, there was a notice issued for one very large company. Suddenly, the very big officer in relation gets a call from a very, very important opposition leader. He says, "Hey, what have you done to that industry?" "I given a notice because these are the violations." He said, "Immediately take back this one. Otherwise, I'm getting calls from some other very powerful minister in the ruling party." So where is IR? So basically, there's a change that has been happening even in the IR sector, and the unions were silent. They had 2 unions, one recognized, one unrecognized, one registered and unrecognized, but they were silent on what was really happening. They were enjoying the tamasha. Anyway, labor enforcement authorities say, okay, non-compliance issues due to lack of knowledge, that's weak leadership and not contextually competent. See, very, very important of today IR is they are not very contextually competent. Is where we have seen in many. And emergence of digital era. This has really disrupted the IR situation in India, my dear friends. Whether you agree or not, there's a sort of disruption that has happened with reference to the IR. And when we see the demographic divide of the young Indians, working in various sectors, various industries, there's definitely a disruption that has happened, the changing aspiration of the workmen of the society and all. So the gross enrollment ratio in the higher education, in some states it has, because this has direct to the IR. How many people with good knowledge are coming into the industry where they can implement, where they can present, where they can really negotiate, where they can contribute to the society as well. So this is what is happening. In some states, global average is high. In one state, some states, it is less than 30 to 35%. So especially in Pina, where it's the largest industrial estate in South Asia, we used to say every industry would have a large agenda. Today, we have hardly 1 or 2 industries having large agenda. So that's the biggest change that has taken place. And weak IR due to lack of distinction between politics and labor. See, earlier when the elders were sitting here, there was a clear demarcation between labor welfare and politics. Now, what has happened today? Both have combined together. So, where is IR today? So, this transformation has happened in a big way. And today's mantra for any industry in India is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Yeah, we have to go further, move further. So there is no tolerance, so totally zero tolerance, because we need to prove ourselves in the world today that we are also a world-class manufacturer, world-class, we are into supply chain and things like that. And focus on expansion of business. Everybody wants to do global business and compare with the other countries, compare with the other industry and other industrial relations of the other countries and things like that. And cessation of creation of employment and less resources and more results. Today, much of the, even in core, even in blue collar, many of the areas as well, even middle management as well, where much of the recruitment or much of the creation of jobs are not happening. But the results is been expected is very high. So, and very, very important, my final slide is huge variation in IR behavior today. Huge variation and that can be attributed to what? High global index with respect to milk industry. We may be very astonished milk to do with us, because This industry also plays a very major role with reference to IR. Foreign remittances. Today, every day, the foreign minister and other people, they'll be, what is our remittance? How much are we import substitute today? And how much are we importing? How much are we exporting? And how many $1 billion are we ahead of the other countries? Is what this one. And global retail development in a big way, and substantial growth in the area of renewable energy. Friends, very important thing which is happening. And world's most valuable nation brand and foreign direct investment inflows. So much of the IR also depends on the FDIs, whatever we are getting, and how are we disseminating. So my dear friends, with this I'm ending my talk. Thank you very much. And any questions? I am open.
Any questions, please? I think, sir, your presentation was so lucid, so clear. I don't expect any any questions from the audience now.
No, if there is no problem, there is a big problem. So if there is, that is what I'm afraid of. So if there are at least one or two questions, then I am okay. People have opened their eyes. That is why, a silent spine is always dangerous. So there should be some activity. Otherwise, it leads to something else.
Sir, I would like to, one thing, compassionate employee relations. I would like to something elaborated, compassionate employee relations.
Yeah, today, people are expecting you to be very compassionate with them. No, I'm not talking about empathy. You should really, yesterday my good friend Vinay was just speaking, was also asking, how many of you go first before the union leader when a death happens?
Right.
Compassionate. And especially one more, he was giving an example of one of the compassionate employment. The person was already some 45 or 50 years old, pretty old and not trainable, So how are we going to deal with such things? Because this is aspirational employment, aspirational IR that really happens. That's what I mean. Did I answer your question?
Okay, got it.
Touching the heart, basically.
Sir, my question is, what are main reasons of increasing private company in comparison to public sectors?
Privatization is the mantra.
Sir.
Because everything cannot be done by the same thing. So more and more talents are coming these days. The talents are very varied.
Can we compete with private firms?
Sorry?
Can we compete with private company
definitely. Why
having
not?
a large
See,
number
for
of
example-
resources or? Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Public sector, in context of Coal India, have all resources, like other public sectors have all resources. Why we do not compete with private company?
Definitely. See, the way Coal India has treated us or MCL has treated us, even private company, even in the dream, they cannot do like this. Amazing. Even in the dream, the way you people have, taken care even this conference, and even putting that G20 logo.
Yes.
Where is the private people only want profit and money. Here, you people work for the nation of the people, nation and people.
Thank you.
That is the big plus point. Here, your every sweat goes to the nation. There, every sweat goes for something else. Thank you. Did I answer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My next question is,
Yeah.
You are the very knowledgeable person. In your opinion, what is the best IR practice in context of Coal India?
There is nothing called as best, there is nothing called as worst. It is only situational.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Ball comes, hit the ball. That's it. No copybook style. So thank you so much. God bless you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, the one transformation in IR you pointed out is the increase in outsource and contractual works, where a large number of contractors, which a few people do many services, but their implementation of this labor issues, this compassion, and this safety of their wages, this becomes a issue. How to deal with such
I tell you, some of them are extremely professional in those areas. They know how to deal with them. So it has been left to them. Many of them are really experts in those areas. So that's how it is happening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I'd request you to stay a few minutes, sir. We have, and request Vinay Ranjan, sir, to please come up on stage for, it's a small memento. Thank you, Shamasundar, sir. As you know, Vinay Ranjan, sir, would be leaving in a few hours. His flight is at 2. And sir, we are really grateful for the time that you gave us. Your interactive talk yesterday was really wonderful, sir. We would always remember that talk. I would just like to ask you, sir, आपने जो perceive किया था ये concept जो perceive किया था, so has Mahanadi Coalfields lived up to your expectations? And
Hello.
और फिर सर उसके बाद सर मैं 2 शब्द आपसे चाहूंगा कि सर आप एड्रेस करें.
When we do performance appraisal, there is a 5-pointer scale. Below the expectation, meet the expectation, exceed the expectation. So you got the exceed the expectation. Everything was nice. And the participation is, I see everybody is present in the morning, attentive, asking question. So that was the whole agenda, so that when you go from here, after 2 days of wonderful IR conclave, listening from different experts who are subject matter experts in their area. And the idea is you will do actionable, at least little mindset change in terms of implementing the ideas and reaching out to employee in terms of creating employee experience. Okay. 2 things I want to touch upon. One is yesterday is about that new labor code mandate us to finish the inquiry in 90 days. That's a very, very important part of your job, to hold domestic inquiry. There have been instances when the matter after inquiry went to the court, and court has not looked into the facts of the case, only on the procedural part of domestic inquiry, how the domestic inquiry was held, we lost the case. Only on the procedural part. You're not given enough notice, not given the what you could say, natural justice, justice, without hearing the employees. So on the part of natural justice, the case is pretty strong on the part of management. But judges are not going into the facts of the case, rather they are going on the procedural part, and we are lacking on that. So please understand the process of domestic inquiry and the proper process, natural justice, give the employee to be being heard. He has a defense assistance, he can get the defense assistance, all those, procedural part. So I want to harp on those. Whenever you go in your units and your area, when you are conduct, please see. There are instances when you get to know that these employees are absent for 300 days. Within 1 day, inquiry constitution, second day you dismiss him. There has been some cases. You got to know that your agent from the units tells him that these employees are not coming from last so many days. So without sending, proper notice and all that, you just, because you want to save yourself. Things will come on you because you have not taken enough preemptive action and proactive action, and you didn't know that employee was absent for 300 days, and you just conduct an inquiry in 1 day and next day is dismissed. And when employee comes back, he goes to the court and he is again, working. So 300 days is large. He's abandoned his job. He should be dismissed, removed from the service. But the manner you conduct inquiry, jeopardize your case. So that's one thing I want you guys to understand. The second biggest area is just now Samaji talked about the contract labor. Somebody asked question about the contract labor. You know that our 60% of coal and around 60% of OV removal is outsourced in Coal India. Okay, large, around 90 to 93,000 contract workers is working. And the new labor law, new code mandates that the welfare of contract workers is a principal employer. That's a paradigm shift in the new labor code. That contract labor welfare is the responsibility of principal. I think Kallol will supplement me. There is a provision there. Earlier, we outsource as contractor will do their social security, their welfare, their health issues. But now, new labor code, it will shift to the principal employer. We as a group must come out with a strategy under leadership of Coal India that how we can extend our welfare measures to contract labor employees and embrace them in our system. Though they are not directly, we are responsible in terms of their hiring, but they are integral part of, because of their hard work and because of their work, you are getting, much kind of a coal production and OV removal, which ultimately resulting into the profit and financial performance of Coal India. So we must, in the corner of, we should not abandon them and then, this is, ये तो हमारा responsibility नहीं है, ये contractor जाने, contractor को बोल देंगे, contractor देख लेगा, उसको भी integrate करने की जरूरत है, and we should find way and mechanism how we integrate them fully in terms of within, of course, the boundaries of the available legislation. जो भी नियम कानून है उसके बाउंड्री के तहत ही करना है, कोई एक्स्ट्रा नहीं करना है, लेकिन तब भी उनको कैसे हम इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं और उनको कैसे हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि हम भी आपके लिए हैं. अगर आपको कॉन्ट्रैक्टर से कोई इश्यू होता है, हर यूनियन मीटिंग में एचपीसी वेजेस को लेकर कंप्लेन आती है, हर यूनियन मीटिंग में कि वर्कर्स को एचपीसी वेजेस मिलता नहीं है, 15 दिन का अटेंडेंस होता है, 30 दिन के बदले में 15 दिन का अटेंडेंस करके कम पैसे देते हैं. ऑल दोस, एमसीएल इज पायनियर इन एमसीएल में ज्यादा इशू नहीं है, बट अदर कंपनीज हैज मच मोर इश्यूज. So how we can, I'm just leaving a thought in your mind, how we can see that these issues are, because see, sitting at the apex level, we create policies, but implementation happens at your place, your level. आप यूनिट में बैठते हैं, आप एरिया में बैठते हैं, आपके लेवल पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होता है, तो आपको ये समझने की बात है कि हम उसको कैसे प्रिवेंट कर सके और कैसे हम उनको बोले कि ये जो भी प्रोविजन एचपीसी के हैं विद इन द एम्बिट ऑफ लॉ एंड लेजिस्लेशन, उसको हम इम्प्लीमेंट करवाएं. अबेंडन नहीं करें, नहीं ये हमारा इशू नहीं है, हम तो सिर्फ अपने वर्कर को ध्यान देंगे, बट वो भी आपके ही पार्ट हैं और वो भी आपके लिए ही काम कर रहे हैं और आपके प्रोडक्शन एंड ओवी रिमूवल विच अल्टीमेटली लीड्स टू फाइनेंशियल परफॉर्मेंस. ये दो चीजें मैं आपको चाह रहा था कि आप लोग ध्यान दें. ये भी इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन का बड़ा पार्ट है. कंडक्टिंग डोमेस्टिक इंक्वायरी इन अ फेयर एंड ट्रांसपेरेंट वे विद द लेट डाउन प्रोसेस. अगर उसमें आपको कॉम्पिटेंसी स्किल बिल्डिंग की जरूरत है, वी कैन होल्ड वर्कशॉप. देयर इज एक्सपर्ट हु नोज हाउ टू कंडक्ट इंक्वायरी. हमने ईसीएल में जब था तो मैंने 3-4 सेशन करवाए थे. So we can do such sessions, calling expert, and then see that domestic inquiry is conducted in a fair and transparent manner, number one. Number two is about how we embrace and integrate and see the welfare of contract workers who are a large part of our ecosystem. Okay? So these two thoughts I want to leave, and I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Mr. Rao for his wonderful initiative, and he led from the front. And he was there to organize everything, and his team, Javed ji, Khatik Saab, and all other members, and Mehra ji, and Lopamudra, who has wonderfully coordinated the entire 2 days program. I hope this thing will continue, because we must pause some time and sit from outside in view ki what's happening in our industry. Let's create such forum where we brainstorm, we come with innovative ideas, and we change, and in terms of that a better Coal India tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And sir, I would request you to stay back now and request Shiv Rao, sir. सर ये जो जूट बैग सर हम प्रमोट कर रहे हैं एमसीएल में सर, हमने सर जूट बैग्स एम्प्लॉइज को भी ये बांटे हैं, प्लस सर हमने लोकल मार्केट में मार्केट ये बुरला में 10,000 बैग्स हमने बांटे हैं फॉर इरेडिकेशन ऑफ प्लास्टिक बैग्स. गांव में बांटे हमने 10,000 बांटे हमने गांव में और मार्केट्स में. Right, so thank you so much. We are ready for the tea break. You have 15 minutes for the tea break. Please enjoy.
Always unrealistic targets.
Mic sound. Request all the delegates. We're going to start the next session. Request all the delegates who are out to please enter and take their seats. All delegates to please take their seats.
I request everyone to come back to the hall so we can move on with our presentations. So the next panel two. So the topic is way ahead for transformative IR. And we have three speakers. I have already told. Once again, I'll like to repeat them. Speaker one is Shri Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC. Speaker two is Shri K.S. Patro, ex-Director Personnel, Eastern Coalfields Limited. Speaker three, Shri H. N. Mishra, Director Personnel, Central Coalfields Limited. Panel or anchor is Sri Rajesh Kamath, founder CCI and co-founder Chiranjeev Gurukul. And yesterday we have heard from Sir. It was an excellent session, sir, I must say. And I think not only me, everybody have enjoyed that. I once again request everyone to come back to the hall and take your seats. Our speakers are ready. They're waiting for you. So please come back soon. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we are moving forward to our panel two with the topic Way Ahead for Transformative IR. And for this, I request our honorable speakers to come on the dais, starting from Shri Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC. Speaker 2, Shri Kesh Patro, ex-Director Personnel, Eastern Coalfields Limited. Shri H.N. Mishra, Director Personnel, Central Coalfields Limited. And our panel anchor, Shri Rajesh Kamath, founder CCI and co-founder Chiranjeev Gurukul. Hand mic.
Welcome back.
So, sorry to interrupt. Before we start, let me introduce all our speakers.
Okay. You don't introduce me. It's been
Yes,
done
sir. Sir, you
yesterday.
are well known now. You need no introduction further, sir. So, starting with first, Sri Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC. Dr. Kalol Dutt served as labor administrator for the last 26 years and took voluntary retirement as an additional labor commissioner of Government of West Bengal. Dr. Dutt has conducted sessions on labor laws and behavioral skills in many organizations. He was the first editor of Labor Bulletin published by the State Labor Institute, Kolkata. Dr. Dutt has co-authored a study on impact of election for recognition of trade unions in industrial relations in West Bengal, which he was subsequently published by the State Labor Institute. He is a national resource person for training needs analysis and facilitation skills. Next, we have our second speaker. He is Shrikesh Patra. He is the ex-director personnel ECL. So we have also introduced her yesterday. I'll do it once again. And sir, he is graduate from economic honors and graduate in labor and social welfare from Barampur University, Odisha. During his 36 years of service in Coal India, he worked in different capacities of mine level, area level, and headquarters, dealing with multifarious functions relating to industrial relation, workers' welfare, personal matters, including wages and salary administration, recruitment, placement, and etc. He is known for effective rapport with the trade unions, local villagers, project affected people, and the workmen of the company. And our speaker three is Sri Harishnath Mishra. Shri Mishra, Harshnath Mishra, sorry sir, pardon me. Shri Mishra was selected as Director Personnel and joined CCL in August 2022. Prior to that, he joined Steel Authority of India Limited as a management trainee in the year 1991. He served SAIL for around 3 decades, working in 3 different steel plants in various capacities, managing different verticals of personnel and administration. He was developed competency in designing and implementing new initiative for simplifying processes. After joining CCL, he was initiated processes to implement the best practices of which he had gathered wide exposure during his long stint in HR professional. And the panel anchor is Sri Rajesh Kamath sir. And I request you to continue and start with your.
So I just want to check, is there... No, it's on. That's it. If you have one more mic, I'd like someone to be with the mic for the audience. क्योंकि मैं कुछ सवाल पूछने वाला हूँ. हाँ जी. Okay, thank you so much. So just be there. Okay, it will come in a few moments. Okay, so first of all, let me acknowledge that this has been among the most engaging conferences by itself, and IR conferences perhaps the best that I've attended. So I want to clap for all of us over here. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. ये गूंजा नहीं, मतलब it was very half-hearted. Please make it louder. So there was barely a dull moment. You know, I sat through almost everything except part of last session yesterday, and of course, Anup Jalota's session, which I thought I could give a miss because temples were beckoning. Okay, and not a single dull moment. So engaging, so interesting, so enriching. मैं फिर से जो हमारा थीम है उस पर ध्यान देना चाहता हूं, which is creating business enabling our environment, because that's why we are all here. Yesterday, I spoke a little bit about the logo, right, during my session. And I could speak about the small I and the large R. And sir, just to repeat, and for Kallol Sahab who wasn't there yesterday, I said this is actually a beautiful logo because the I is small and the R of the relationship is large. Right? So that's. लेकिन जिस चीज के बारे में मैंने बात नहीं की कल, वो भी इंटरेस्टिंग है, that look at the way those 8 people, individuals, of course representing the 8 subsidiaries, are working hand in hand. And even though they are of very different colors. So it just happened by chance कि मैं आज, during the break between 2 sessions, I stepped out and I happened to meet Sushant. Let's give him a big applause. Sushant, if you could please stand. Are you there? Okay, he's not there. Yeah. Is he there? He's not there. Sushant was the person who designed that logo, and I was very happy to have met him there, and he shared what he was thinking behind creation of that. So much so he also shared that वो auto color का actually combination black हो जाता है, which is the black of Coal India. Okay, so now all of this creates an environment. Right? Because an environment cannot be created by one person alone. I mean, बन सकता है थोड़ा बहुत, but it is created by everyone. And especially सुबह बात हुई of stakeholders and shareholders, the difference between them. And how every stakeholder has a place in creating an environment and ecosystem. So that was one of the things got spoken. Before I start, I just wanted to share with you all, I had an opportunity a few months back to do a few workshops for a lot of our young HR leaders, a few of whom are over here. और उस समय मैंने जो भारतीय कहानी ली थी अपने पुराणों से was of Samudra Manthan. And I want to tell you, Samudra Manthan is a classic example of a first time harmonious relationship between the Asur and Dev. क्योंकि मंथन करने के लिए both sides you had to apply exactly the same amount of pressure. So equal and opposite pressures, without which there would be no Amrit. And I feel this is a beautiful example जो भारत में कहानियों के माध्यम से हमको बताया गया है, how sometimes even those who have the worst conflicts have to come together to enable a high purpose. Okay, some of the skeptics over here may say finally both did not get the Amrit, but that discussion we can have another time. Okay, I have given also the reasons for that during my workshop. But think about Haji. So please can we clap for Sushant? Very well done, Sushant. Logo itna sundar hai, it may get unrecognized at times, but I thought it is beautiful and we must acknowledge. So well done, Sushant. Yeah. बहुत ही विचार से सोचकर वो बनाया है. Yes. So coming back, so that's an example of a wonderful environment created for a higher purpose. And that's where my first question to my esteemed panelists goes, but I'm going to come to you, audience, all right, very soon. क्योंकि मैं ये हमेशा मानता हूं कि panel discussion में main stakeholder is the audience. Whom is it for? It's for all of you. So I'm going to involve you very soon, but I'm going to put the first question to all of you. तो आप बारी बारी से, as you feel right, you may please respond to it. What according to you is a business enabling IR environment, and what is a business disabling IR environment? I repeat, what is a business enabling IR environment in your view? And what would be a business disabling IR environment? So isko samajh lete, because this is the very theme of our conference. What does this mean? It may seem very simple, but sir, if we could just start with you.
Hello friends, very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That this is a very pertinent question, and as we people are associated with Coal India, So in Coal India perspective, with my little knowledge and experience, I guess to create a business-enabled environment is to minimize the work stoppages to the extent possible. Less work stoppage, more business-enabled environment. And reverse is there. So we have to try to create an atmosphere where, whether it is a lightning strike, whether it is a more thoughtful strike, long-term, short-term, whatever it may be, that should be, if not eliminated, it should be minimized. Reasons may be various. Maybe NCW 11, maybe not getting proper attention, very trivial issues. Maybe real or maybe imaginary also. So you have to penetrate under the situation so as to minimize work stoppages to the extent possible.
Thank you, sir. Hello, sir, please. So he's explained best in terms of disruptive time minimized. Thank you, sir.
Before I answer the question, let me reintroduce myself. I'm a human being. I was with the government for 33 years and as a labor administrator for 26 years, which means whatever I'm going to say during this panel discussion does not reflect the view of the government. It is my personal views. Now, regarding his question, the answer lies in the symbol itself. The smaller the I, the better the environment. The smaller the I and the bigger the R, it is more business enabling. Not only business enabling, I have actually reservation regarding this word. Let us call enabling environment. Do we exist for business or business exists for us? Since we are talking about transformative IR, one point Kamath sir has already mentioned that I is important, R is important, R is more important. I or ego, the lesser the ego, the I feeling goes, we feeling comes, it becomes an enabling environment. And when I becomes bigger, it becomes business or any disabling environment, need not necessarily confined to business. Thank you.
सभी को प्रणाम, नमस्कार, अभिनंदन. As per my panelist, Mr. Kalol, I am also expressing my own views because there is no such clear-cut IR enabling or disabling factors, but it's an individual who decides what is enabling or disabling. In my opinion, again, what we have read is ESG, but my ESG is earn social goodwill. That is the best enabling factor for any IR. If you involve the society, if you involve the stakeholders, if you involve the shareholders, they're going to be a very, very good IR relations, industry relations, and production will boom like anything. Any problem comes with the mindset of the society, the surroundings, the circumstances. And secondly, the disabling factor, yes, definitely the disconnect. The disconnect of the organization with its environment. If you are connected with the surroundings, you will read the pulse and business will boom because you will have solutions for that. In a nutshell, that is all. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. So, Kalol साहब के साथ मैं break में बात कर रहा था, and one of the things he said is that having now come out and playing an independent role, so to say, I want to question the basic assumptions itself in IR. Okay, and one of the things that we have been seeing continuously is the fact that in a lot of organizations, including the Mahindra Group where I used to work, IR began to be called ER, employee relations. Okay, my question to you is this just a, of course, you would know what Mahindra's did specifically behind this naming, but many companies have done that. नाम बदलने से impression बदलता है क्या? Or is there a certain idea behind it which is saying that, look, when we say IR, it looks like one against the other with the intervention of the union somewhere in between. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit on your thoughts over here. Does employee relations and the idea behind it in some ways begin to change our assumptions about IR?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Though Shakespeare said, "What's in a name?" but I do think that it changes the perspective. See, earlier we used to call physically handicapped. Now we say specially abled. So focus changes. So whenever you are instead of industrial relation, you are calling employee relation, the focus is on the employees. And if you connect it with the labor codes, in the labor code, for the first time, I think, there is a word, a term, employee, which includes managers as well. And if you think about the wage code, even if the general manager does not gets his salary, he can take recourse to the wage code. So it is no longer labor anymore. It is about employees. And again, the focus from industrial to employee, I think it helps us to get a better perspective of the situation. It changes the way we see things. The point I mentioned earlier, whether we should focus on business or the persons involved in the business. Should we create an enabling environment for all the human beings involved in a business? It requires a change in the perspective. Similarly, whenever we are thinking of employee relationship, we are changing the focus. And hopefully it will lead to business enabling environment too. But the focus should be on the employees. Thank you.
एक्चुअली हमारे जितने बैठे हैं स्टॉलवर्ड्स कोल इंडिया के, वो आर से बहुत परिचित है. कैसे परिचित है? आर रिलेशन को थोड़ी देर के लिए मैं जस्ट साइड में रखता हूं. क्या आर है एचआर पर्सनल के लिए? सीआर, टीआर, एमआर, पीआर, वीआर. CR is your CCR or whatever you call, PAR, KPI, all that. PR is piece rated, TR is time rated, MR is monthly rated, VR is voluntary retirement. ये R से बहुत परिचित है लोग. CSR is also ये 3-letter word है. मैं 2-letter word गुजार रहा हूँ. Now comes to relations. क्या है? ये आर जो है ये आईआर या एम्प्लॉय रिलेशन नहीं है, इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस भी नहीं है, ये ब्रॉडर पर्सपेक्टिव है. क्या है ये? नाउ कम्स वीआर इज विलेज रिलेशंस, पीआर इज पब्लिक रिलेशंस, अगेन अनदर पीआर इज पॉलिटिकल रिलेशंस, police relations, relations with administrative machinery, relations with the local clubs, all these relations. Say collectively, all these are reflected in ER or employee relations or IR, whatever you call. So नाम कुछ भी आप रखें, हमारे ये सारे एक आर अहमियत है, इंपॉर्टेंट है. मैं किसी को इग्नोर नहीं कर सकता हूं. बहुत समय ऐसा होता है कि हमारे एम्प्लॉय पिक्चर में नहीं है. ट्रांसफार्मर चल गया. क्या है कि हमारे एम्प्लॉय जो कॉलोनी में रहते हैं वो बाद में आते हैं, लेकिन वहां से जो अनऑथराइज्ड कनेक्शंस खींचे हैं वो पहले आ जाते हैं. क्यों नहीं आप लगाइएगा? मुझे नहीं पता है आपके पास ट्रांसफार्मर ऑयल है कि नहीं है, नया ट्रांसफार्मर है कि नहीं है, आपको अभी लगाना होगा। और जरूरत पड़े तो वहां के जो पंचायत मेंबर है, प्रधान है, सरपंच है, उनका भी कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव पहुंच जाएगा या फोन आ जाएगा। आपको वर्कर को जाने नहीं देंगे पीट टप पर, अंडरग्राउंड में जाने नहीं देंगे, ओपन कास्ट में जाने नहीं देंगे। जबकि हमारे वर्कर्स नहीं चाहते कि ये सब बंद करें, ठीक है, वो जानते हैं कंपनी का कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स। सो हमको ये सारे आर को स्टेबलाइज करना होगा, स्ट्रेंथनिंग करना होगा, इन लोगों से कनेक्टिविटी बना के रखना होगा। और ये एक दिन का मामला नहीं है। दैट्स व्हाई द कनोटेशन, whatever you call it, but in broader perspective we have to take care of all these R's.
So we can call it inclusive relations, sir.
Yeah,
सारे
inclusive
कुछ आ गए उसमें.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. कल के सेशन में जो फर्स्ट सेशन था, Mishra ji, this question I'm going to pose to you. First session by Sharad Gangal, which was called Conflict Resolution to Collaborative Partnership. One of the things that caught my attention was the fact, उन्होंने बताया in the last, let's say 10-15 years, जो blue collared worker के demographics है वो ही change हो गए. So we have more recent generations. And obviously with that, their aspirations are equivalent to the recent generation in any workforce, not just in the, a blue-collared workforce. And perhaps this is also causing a little bit of disharmony, disalignment, and perhaps has been the cause of issues in many companies, including in Maruti a few years back, jo Manesar mein humne suna tha. I want to ask you, sir, that how relevant is this? Is there a need today कि IR को हम सिर्फ overall everyone treated equally ना सोचकर, is there a need to now segment our workforce, especially our blue collar workforce, in a certain way? And then accordingly, we have to shape our practices. Do you think that is one of the ways in the future, ki based on demography of our workforce, can we handle them better and differently? Ya sabhi ke liye it should be the very similar practices. What are your thoughts here?
Very interesting and relevant. ऐसा है, earlier we had conflicts. Now we are talking about collaborative management. To whom we collaborate with? The only employees? Or as Mr. Sharma was telling today in the morning, that their influencers, who influence them? We have to look at it from the influencer point of view. The example Mr. Rajesh, my friend, was giving, that Maruti, that was not happened in a day. We all agree that it was somewhere, yes, it was kept under the carpet for so long that it erupted. It was just like a volcano. So demography cannot be ruled out, and it was never ruled out in earlier IR scenario or industrial scenario. Whatever IE we say, that's a different aspect. The R was the same. During the tea break, I was talking to one of my colleagues, the participant. He was sharing that when he joined Coal India, one of his seniors told that you are a local person. Mostly नेता लोग आपके मामा चाचा होंगे, so you will be better to handle them, understand them. What was that? It was understanding the demography, understanding the sentiments, understanding local environment. So demographic changes has nothing to do with the IR. It is always the R which is giving you the basis for your future endeavors and the actions. It comes from the culture you are brought up and the culture you are working with. So democracy plays a very, very vital role. We cannot, we had never, we will never do that. That's right. Thank you.
So the insight here is, doesn't matter if demography is changing, people are getting younger. I'm going to ask one more question on this to Kallol Sai just a minute. But basically he's saying as long as you are treating every individual as a human and managing that relationship, change of demography should not change the way you operate your IR environment. Did I get you right, sir? Yes.
Just one thing to add up. Actually, there are industries. I have come from steel. So there is all the plants are mini Bharat. The people are from all around the country. But just opposite to that, if you go to the coal mines, mostly the local people are there. Mostly, I said mostly. मतलब executives में तो आते हैं, non executives में बहुत कम रहते हैं सर, जो मेरा कैडर से आते हैं, जिसको आप लोगों ने different arts जो आपने कहा है, हाँ, तो वो therefore ये demographic changes जो हैं, that matters always, but your environment is mostly the factor X. How you adapt that demographic where you are working is the most important thing for any industry. Thank you.
So, Kallol Sahab, here's the question I want to ask you. Now, you know, yesterday we were proudly saying that even hamare mine blasting workforce, maybe now there are women. So my question to you is this. Okay, other demography does not matter. What according to you has changed when more and more women have entered the workforce in the blue collar this? What is your experience outside that you have seen? And you know now in certain industries, certain factories, pura workforce, blue collared workforce has become women. So what according to you, is this a advantage, disadvantage? How we handle them, would that change? What are some of your thoughts on this?
It affects the situation positively because it depends. Advantage and disadvantage, you cannot identify separately. It depends on which perspective you are seeing the situation. Regarding, you discussed about demographic difference, now gender difference. So it is not about diversity and division. That was actually our colonial past. Now the approach is diversity and inclusion. How we can utilize the diversity. If in a group, if it is all men group or all women group, and think about a group which is a mixed one, their performance differs, their relationship differs, interpersonal relationship, and it affects the performance as well. So whenever there is a gender difference, be it in the managerial level or in the workers level, it affects again their perspective. From my personal experience, I think you will also agree that the way women see life and interpersonal relation and the way men see life and interpersonal relation may be different. And we can create synergy out of that, not division. If you want to get the best out of it, you can do that. If you want to utilize that to create division, that you can do that. So again, it depends on your intention and how you see things. Thank you.
So I want to come to the audience now. Okay, I want to ask, you can now address any of our three experts here, right? We have one existing director, we have one individual who has a long stint with the government, and we have Patro Saab who has, till recently handled the director personnel for an organization. I want you to utilize these gentlemen to clarify any of the thoughts that may have come to your mind since yesterday, because y'all are going to be going away from yesterday's and today's conference, और आपको ये सारे ideas अभी practice करने हैं. Any question that has remained unanswered in your mind, now is your opportunity to ask. Okay, this is one. and you can raise your hand so that the people with the mics can come to you. Okay, I request you to raise your hand. Okay, so one we have already ready. Second, hold. और एक वहां पर हो गया है. They were just waiting for this opportunity. Second, अभी ये आप बाद में पूछिए, but I'm handing it to you right now. You can also share what was one idea from the 5 sessions that took place from yesterday to before our session, जिसका आप पर बहुत impact हुआ, जो आप सोचते हैं, wow, this was really powerful, whether it is technology, whether it is change in labor code, whether it is anything else, on which you'd like a view from one of our experts. Any of these 2 categories. So one unanswered doubt, and second is one powerful idea for IR, जो आपको बहुत impress कर गया कल या आज में, and that you would like a additional view on. Yes, so one over here, we'll start with him. वहां पर भी एक mic दीजिए, and a third one there afterwards. Please start.
सर, लास्ट ईयर कोल इंडिया का प्रॉफिट था 15,000 करोड़. तो इन माय ओपिनियन, यह प्रॉफिट जो है सर, इन माय ओपिनियन, यह जो है आउटसोर्सिंग के कारण है या गुड हार्मोनियस रिलेशन आईआर के कारण? क्योंकि सर आउटसोर्सिंग से आजकल जो कोल इंडिया का प्रॉफिट है 80% है. यस यस. नो, anyone can answer, sir. It is regarding Coal India.
ये क्वेश्चन अपने आप में आपके लिए भी थॉट प्रोवोकिंग होना चाहिए. अच्छा है, यू हैव थॉट ऑफ इट. इवन जो आप आउटसोर्सिंग की बात करते हैं, अभी आपने सुना, जो मैं कल तो नहीं था, आज के सेशन में मैंने सुना था, या फिर हमारे डीपी साहब ने भी एड्रेस किया था. आउटसोर्सिंग इज नॉट बियॉन्ड योर पार्ट, इट इज विद इन आवरसेल्व्स. सो एनी प्रॉफिट doesn't matter that you have not handled anything. Relationship matters for each and every job. Even the attendant, the peon, the lowest level non-executive PR, whosoever is there, if my attendant is working with me, he is also contributing towards that profit, because he is keeping me as per my energy level, providing me tea, providing me water, providing the environment which I want. So every individual is contributing, and that's the reason that we are making profit, a huge profit, because we are maintaining those relations. So outsourcing, departmental, these are the processes within the larger scope and to meet the goal of the Coal India. Yesterday we have signed 7 contracts for MDOs, 3 from CIL and different organizations. So that is all. Relationship matters, whatever you do. That is my understanding. Thank you.
Haji, second one. Haji.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is to Mr. Mishra, Director Personnel, CCL. Sir, you have come from different backgrounds. Hello. You have come from CIL, sir. Sir, my question is, what do you feel about our IR situation in comparison to CIL IR situation, and from where we should start now to change our environment from this environment to enabling environment?
So is there something we can take from that? Nice question.
Thanks for this question. I was expecting. In my opinion, IR is industry based. It is the issue based, the environment based. The steel industry generally works in a closed environment. Closed means within a boundary wall, and then township, then the surroundings. We are working in an open environment. There is no boundary, and that is extending every day. So industrial relations, in particular from personal point of view, if you're talking about HR point of view, is entirely different, but common, because again, it is a human relationship that matters. You are handling these situations as per the requirement of the organization, the situation, the moment. Anything is negotiated, anything is bargained. These are common principles for any IR relations. There's nothing industry-based. The only thing, the methodology, you can sit. The only thing is methodology, how you negotiate, how you handle the situation, how you react or interact or go to conflict or go to collaborative management. It has nothing to do with the steel or the coal. If I'm here, I'm adapting the situation of the Coal India. I was there, I was working as a salesman. So your adaptability is the main reason. Industrial relation is nothing to different from any organization to organization. The basic principles will remain the same. Rest depends on the culture of the organization, the individual, the factors extenuating, and the nuances have to be understood by the individual. That's my understanding. Thank you.
Same question? Yeah. Sir, then what do you think, in your personal opinion, from where we should start now?
Where?
From where we should start now?
You have already started because it is a continuous process.
Yes, sir.
The moment you join an industry or an organization, in fact, relationship is such a thing. I'm not emphasizing time and again IR. It's relationship I'm talking about.
Exactly, sir.
It's already inbuilt in every individual the moment they're born. Nowadays, science saying even before you born.
We have to just improve ourselves.
Yes, you have to learn the new techniques.
Right, sir.
To smoothen your process, to simplify your processes. The transparency, the openness, the closeness. Right? These two, transparency, openness, and closeness. 3 letters have to be talked about, that is TOC.
And to face the challenges with closeness, sir.
The moment you accept it as a challenge, you will be motivated to face it.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, there was one gentleman here and I think the lady right next to him. Both had questions.
Sir.
Yahan par we'll come to you.
Sir, may I?
No, there were 2 here. We'll come to you, okay? I know many people have questions to ask. The gentleman first, then the lady next to him. And there are many hands here. I'll go to that hand at the back so that we don't miss after that.
Good afternoon, sir, on the dais, off the dais. Sir, my question is, many category 1 employees joins in Coal India. Many a times, and their designation is on compassionate ground or land loser, the category 1 general mazdoor. Many a times, they are very educated, say BTech, MBA and kind of, and we try to use them gainfully. But it is not possible to use all of them gainfully. So if a well-educated person is there and he feels like that the job satisfaction is not with him or her, so how to keep him motivated and connected? At the same time, if I use him more gainfully and other person who is not that much educated, but having the same category, he's also category 1. One is working on the field and one is working in the office. So he may also feel demotivated, being we both are at the same, irrespective what is his education or what are mine. So how to keep him motivated, both the employees motivated, having job satisfaction? Thank you, sir.
I will not preach any motivational theory. To keep anyone motivated, I think 2 things are required. Use empathy and give positive regard. Whenever you are saying that the people who are appointed on compassionate ground and land loser, you mentioned 2 things. Think about the person who lost his land. He got monetary compensation, that is okay. But think emotionally. The place where he used to stay, now there is an industry. And he is seeing crores of rupees are going there. People are working there. He was the owner of the land. Now he is merely a worker, an employee. I am not preaching to be compassionate. No. Use empathy and acknowledge that feeling. You need not support that feeling. Acknowledge that feeling. Practice it in any situation, in personal, professional, with workers, superior, peers. The greatest regret that we usually have that people don't understand me. Think about yourself. You will also feel. I do not know whether you are married or not. You will feel your wife does not understand you.
So listening rather than having to commit to yourself. Listening at the first. So we are saying begin with listening. Empathy means first of all acknowledging कि ये feeling है. Even that listening will lead to one step ahead is what sir is saying.
Exactly.
है ना?
Exactly.
Situation may not change immediately. At least आपने सुना. हाँ जी. We'll come to sir. here.
But I would like to add one point. Yes. Again, in spite of so many motivational theories and carrot and stick policies, I still believe motivation comes from within. People lay down their lives for their ideologies. What is the reward? Where is the punishment? Nothing. So actually greatly motivated persons, any person, take any example, he is motivated from within. And it is related with today's topic also. Transformation always happens from within. That is what I believe. Thank you.
Two more questions. I'm also conscious of the time. We must stop in 5 minutes. Two more questions. Remaining, you'll have to catch sirs during lunch.
I just wanted to supplement the answer to that particular question. Actually, it is about motivating an employee who has joined as category 1 but has higher qualification. See, two things have to be kept in mind. Number one, why is he joining? See, a person has the option of receiving annuity or one-time monetary compensation, but still he is joining. That means he or she values this job immensely. He knows the value of this job and willing to, join despite higher qualification. So he or she will not be as demotivated as you may presume. First of all. Secondly, there are lots of career options within the company through departmental examinations, either with the existing qualification or with additional qualification. So that, whoever has higher qualification, possibly we can seriously think of holding orientation session for category 1, wherein we tell them all these things.
Yes, lady next to him. Your question, please. And then one at the back. Then I'll come back to the group, please. All right? Sir, you all have a lot of job to do during lunch.
So first of all, very good afternoon to all the dignitaries present on the dais, sir. I would like to add on something which I experience every day. I'm posted in a project as a project in charge. So when a worker comes to me for signing a referral paper, I just ask him, what is your disease? From which disease you're suffering from? So that soothes him, and just a single step. This is not a very big thing I'm doing, but that is like connecting me to my people, and the relations are like built very harmonious. And sir, I would like to ask a question to Mishra sir. Sir, how to deal with the things which we are not capable of dealing? Like where our salary is being prepared through SAP, and we are having lot many problems. We are having 5 unions, and we are having meeting with every one of them every single month. So we are facing this problem that in SAP, this is not like sir, how to deal with the situation which is not in our hand? which is technical, sort of technical, or which we can't solve at our end.
Thank you, ma'am. The basic thing is expecting the unexpected and resource management. These two things you have to learn. If you are a leader, or you wish to be a leader for a broader domain, you are already a leader. So if you wish to be a leader of a bigger domain, you have to focus on these two things: how to mobilize your resources and how to predict your future. Predictions means what is happening today is known to everyone. Maybe some may be knowing what will happen tomorrow. Some may be thinking that we will transform to this stage, third. But there are very few, rarest rare, who will be predicting the future. What will happen after 6 months? The topic was the way ahead for transformative IR. This is a prediction. And planning for that. What is way ahead? So that way you have to think of it. The very topic answers your question, the way ahead for transformative IR. So what is going to transform tomorrow, that you have to plan today and gain knowledge, gain the resources, understand the resources. It's not necessary that you have all the resources available with you. But resource utilization, resource mobilization, knowing the resource itself is a resource. हर कोई हर काम नहीं कर सकता, नहीं जान सकता. बट जब आपके पास कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है, उसको अगर आप प्रॉब्लम की जगह लेंगे तो आप सॉल्यूशन खुद ढूंढेंगी. बट अगर उसको चैलेंज मानेंगी, either you will understand the topic or you will learn from others. You will refer him or you will get the information and transmit. Then you can answer anything and you will resolve any challenges. I hope I have answered. Thank you. Thank you.
Just one observation. Kamath, just one observation. The man actually demonstrated the advantage of gender diversity. The way she put the question is different from all other persons who asked the questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. That's very good.
और जो आपने कहा पहले वो भी अच्छा था. That even asking, showing concern can sometimes suit the individual. Okay, so that is also a good point. Yes, gentleman in the last row, second last row. Yeah, I know. Standing is not the criteria.
Sir, one question.
They have been asking the question. Are we keeping track? I'll come to you, Momita. I'll come to you.
हेलो बोलो बोल दे एक बोल देता हूँ सर. हाउस के सामने दो पिक्चर रखना चाहता हूँ कोल इंडिया के कंटेक्स्ट में. अभी का सिनेरियो कोल फील्ड में क्या है कि अभी वर्कर है, ट्रेड यूनियन है एंड मैनेजमेंट है, वन सिनेरियो. लेकिन विद द चेंजिंग ट्रेंड हम जैसे आउटसोर्सिंग की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं तो मोर एंड मोर आउटसाइड पार्टीज थ्रू कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स आ रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो उन केस में उन लोगों का हम लोग हमारे जो अपने वर्कर है जो रह जाएंगे बाद में शायद कम हो जाए, है ना. लेकिन उन लोगों का कन्फ्लिक्ट, उन लोगों का इंटरेस्ट, उन लोगों का आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस या फिर उन लोगों के साथ रिलेशनशिप, वो पूरा सिनेरियो चेंज होने जा रहा है. ऐसा मैं विजुअलाइज करता हूँ. पहला क्वेश्चन मेरा ये रहेगा कि आप लोग सर कैसा फील करते हैं, इस बारे में आप लोगों का क्या व्यू है, और प्लस उस चेंजिंग सिनेरियो में एज ए पर्सनल मैन हम लोगों को कैसे डील करना चाहिए.
देखिए, नोइंगली और अननोइंगली ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव प्रोसेस ऑलरेडी चल रहा है. अगर आप विजुअलाइज करेंगे, आज से 3 डिकेड्स पहले कोल इंडिया का मैन पावर था 6 लाख. आज कितना है? 2.5 लाख और 2.4 लाख वॉट्सएवर. कहाँ गए लोग? सब रिटायर नहीं हुए हैं, सब सुपरिटेंडेंट नहीं हुए हैं, कुछ और है इस बीच में. हमने मैकेनाइजेशन को इंट्रोड्यूस किया. पहले हमारी वैगन लोडिंग सरफेस में होती थी मैन्युअली. पहले हमारे अंडरग्राउंड लोडिंग होती थी मैन्युअली अंडरग्राउंड में. हमने क्या किया? वैगन लोडिंग को थ्रू आउट द कंपनी. हम आई एम नॉट टेलिंग अबाउट एनसीएल और एमसीएल जो सब्सिक्वेंटली आए और शुरू से ही मैकेनाइजेशन उनका था. मैं कह रहा हूं पुरानी कंपनीज, ECL, CCL, SECL, ये सारी कंपनीज की बात कर रहा हूं। तो क्या हुआ कि मैकेनाइजेशन इंट्रोड्यूस होने के बाद टोटल वैगन लोडिंग जो है ओनली मैकेनिकली इट इज अलाउड। इन मेनी प्लेसेस इट इज मेरी गो राउंड, पूरा रेलवे घूमते रहता है, ऑटोमेटिक लोडिंग हो रहा है, कहीं पे लोडर के थ्रू से हो रहा है। अंडरग्राउंड में क्या हुआ, आपने क्या किया, पीस रेट को हटा दिया, लोडर्स नहीं है आज के दिन में, देयर इज नो पीस रेट लोडर। आपने SGL इंट्रोड्यूस किया, आपने LSD इंट्रोड्यूस किया, आपने लंगवाल इंट्रोड्यूस किया। सरफेस में क्या किए, सरफेस में आपने सरफेस माइनर्स, कंटिन्यूअस माइनर्स, हाईवॉल माइनिंग, ये सब इंट्रोड्यूस किए। ये मैकेनाइजेशन जो है ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस में हुआ है। और आज जिस जगह पर आप खड़े हैं, ये सब आदमी टोटली अनस्किल्ड थे। उनको आपने कैसे गेट रीड किया, या तो उनको कहीं गेनफुली डिप्लॉय किए, जो भी उनका क्वालिफिकेशन था, सूटेबिलिटी था, जो भी जॉब के लिए वो सूटेबल आपको लगे वो गेनफुली डिप्लॉय किए। लेकिन रिडक्शन कैसे हुआ कि आपने वहां पर एक ल्यूक्रेटिव गोल्डन हैंडशेक का स्कीम इंट्रोड्यूस की और उनको अच्छे पैसा वैसा दे के आपने उनको विदा किए। ये जो कंपनी किसका नाम लिया, CCL हुआ, BCCL हुआ या ECL हुआ, वहां लार्ज नंबर ऑफ पीपल दे वेंट लेफ्ट टू देयर होम टाउन बाय टेकिंग गोल्डन हैंडशेक। क्यों लिया, क्या उनको पैसा, वो तो जानते थे कि ये कंपनी में रहूंगा तो ज्यादा कमाऊंगा, स्टिल उन्होंने लिया क्योंकि बहुत सारी इंट्रिकेसीज है। कोई बीमार था, काम नहीं कर पाता था, प्रेशर जो काम वो पहले करता था आज जो दूसरे काम आप दे रहे हैं उसके लिए कन्वीनियंट नहीं था, तो फॉर डिफरेंट रीजंस दे वेंट अवे। आप ERP कितना दिन से आप कोल इंडिया में इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ है, बहुत कम दिन हुआ, और आज के दिन में भी सक्सेसफुली हम लोग नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। सो फार एज द पर्सनल एस्पेक्ट्स आर कंसर्न, आज हमारे एक्स माइन में एक पर्टिकुलर कैटेगरी ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज से क्रेन ऑपरेटर्स सरप्लस बैठे हुए हैं, लेकिन दूसरा जगह क्या है कि हम आदमी नहीं है, हमारा क्रेन आइडल बैठा है और हम या तो वो टाइम देके बुला रहे हैं या फिर हम काम सफर कर रहे हैं। लेकिन अगर ERP के थ्रू से वो रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा, जो आदमी मान लीजिए एक एरिया के अंदर एक माइन और दूसरे माइन, या एक कंपनी के अंदर एक एरिया और दूसरे एरिया में देखेगा, अरे वहां तो सरप्लस है, यहाँ तो हमको जरूरत है, वहां से हम ले आए, तो वहां से ले आके चाहे टेम्पोररी ले, परमानेंटली उसका रोल चेंज करके ले, तो आप उसको गेनफुली यूटिलाइज करके मशीन को भी आइडल से बचा रहे हैं, कंपनी का भी बिजनेस एनेबल्ड एनवायरनमेंट आप क्रिएट कर रहे हैं। सो ये जो आपने डे बाय डे टेक्नोलॉजी इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, ये आपको ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव प्रोसेस में हेल्प कर रहा है।
Yes, last person, and then Momita, and then we'll have to pause. Sorry, friends. Yes.
जी सर, मेरा नाम रोहित है और मैं CIL से हूँ। इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशंस की बात जब करते हैं तो हमने अपने सर्विस पीरियड में ये देखा है कि इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन मेंटेन करना मतलब बेनिफिट्स देते जाएं। जहां कर्टेल करने का कोशिश किया तो इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन खराब होने लगता है। कल के सेशन में हमने डेटा की बात की कि डेटा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यूनियंस को डेटा के साथ, पर हमने रिसेंट टाइम में अपने वेज निगोशिएशन में या इन जनरल भी देखा, जब यूनियन से बात करते हैं डेटा की कितना बेनिफिट देने पे हमारी कंपनियां लॉस में चली जाएंगी, वो कहते हैं हमें डेटा नहीं चाहिए। जब कंपनियां BIFR में थी, लॉस में थी, तब भी हम काम करके आज बाहर लेके आए, तो हम काम करेंगे, ये काम सरकार का है। और बिजनेस के लॉस की कल जो बात की कि कंपनी बंद हो जाएगी, वो भी PSU के पर्सपेक्टिव में जॉब लॉस, बिजनेस बंद होना, ये भी नहीं दिखता। तो मैनेजमेंट को इस पर्सपेक्टिव में, जहाँ की यूनियंस डेटा में, फिगर्स में, फाइनेंशियल सस्टेनेबिलिटी में नहीं जाना चाहते, और हमें कैसे इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन को कंपनी के बेटरमेंट के लिए डील करना।
But now let me ask you a question. Why they do not want to go into the data?
क्योंकि वो पहले से शायद ट्रेंड रहा है ऐसा ही कि वो ट्रेंड ऐसा ही रहा है कि कंपनी का प्रॉफिट अगर कम भी हुआ तो हमने बेनिफिट उनको ज्यादा दिया, चाहे बोनस हो, जैसे जब कंपनी लॉस
During,
मतलब
okay, during wage negotiation, are you prepared to share the salaries of the managerial staff, all staff, including managers' salary, with the trade union people?
No, sir.
If they ask for the data,
yes,
will you share that?
yeah, we share it, but they say that since the negotiation is only for the workmen, we don't want to see the data of executors.
Okay.
So they want to confine only on that, and they say that we are not the one who are deciding the coal price. Since management decides the coal price, so जो प्रॉफिट होता है अगर कम हुआ तो वो मैनेजमेंट की वजह से हुआ, वर्कर को का हाथ में प्रॉफिट नहीं है, तो जब वर्कर के हाथ में प्रॉफिट नहीं है तो आप उस प्रॉफिट के बेसिस पे कैसे बात कर रहे हैं वेजेस?
And how do you counter that logic?
वी शो द डेटा कि अगर 10% बढ़ेगा तो हमारी 3 कंपनियां लॉस में चली जाएंगी, तो वो कहते हैं कि 3 कंपनियां पहले भी लॉस में थी, बीआईएफआर में थी, हम उसको बाहर लेके आए, तो आप उसकी चिंता क्यों करते हो?
So how they are, my question is how they are countering the data. They are countering the data with experience.
Yes, sir.
And which you cannot actually counter.
Yes.
And there is I think, a little bit of mistrust also. From my experience, I cannot talk about Coal India, but in many places, especially in the private sector, the data given by the management are not trusted by the workers.
Yeah, that's also the case.
That is one of the reasons. And secondly, they perceive, again, use empathy, try to put yourself in their position. Since you are giving data which is not maybe meaningful to them, there is lack of trust. If you can give concrete example instead of data, if you can make meaning out of the data, if you can show the situation in other industries that suffered due to these things, then it may actually reason them. And it is a continuous process. See, whatever data is against my interest, I will not rely on that. That is natural tendency. Yes. Yeah. Please.
One more response here.
Yeah.
Rohit, just to answer one thing, I will tell you. First of all, IR is not giving. It's give and take. Secondly, they are listening to your data. That's why they are countering it. In fact, in last bonus negotiation, I happened to be there. We had shown them that जब मेरा profit ज़्यादा था तब भी मैंने कम दिया है bonus. So that way we have negotiated that time. Secondly, what we negotiate, हम कितना दे सकते हैं, वो कितना लेना चाहते हैं. So both way we are ready to give. It's not that they are giving, asking for it. We are ready to give and we have to give because it is a mandatory thing. आपको increment नहीं मिलेगा तो ये possible नहीं है. So IR is not only giving, it's give and take. Take means not for you, but for the organizations. So ये चीज clear रखना हमेशा. Thank you.
Last question from Amita.
Good afternoon, respected speakers. Sir, with the implementation of the new labor code, especially the industrial relations code, previously we were dealing the conciliation things as per ID Act. So what will be the transformation now? Like previously it was like ALC, RLC, and then it was a settlement or FOC, then going to CGIT. If what goes against us, then we go for High Court. And then there also are provisions of 17B, Section 17B and other things. So now when there is a shift and like the tribunal is also going a transformation, there will be 2 officers as per the Industrial Relations Code. How to deal with these things now?
Okay, great question.
Let me take that question. First of all, there is, from my perspective, there is no that much major change that will affect your function. ALC, RLC rebates, they will be dealing with the disputes. The advantage is that in the ID Act, whenever conciliation is pending, you can go for strike. But under the code, you cannot go for strike. For even for non-public utility service, for any industry, you cannot go for strike or lockout without giving 14 days notice. And once conciliation starts, again, you cannot go for strike. So that is an advantage for the industry, for any industry. The composition of CGIT will be changed. At present, it is headed by a judge. Now it will have one judicial member and another administrative member. So basically the composition will change. Your functioning will not change. And the provision that I mentioned will help you. And another thing is it provides for bargaining agent. Any trade union having 51% or more support of the workers will become sole bargaining agent. So the issue of multiplicity of trade union will be addressed by the new codes. But again, keep in mind that these codes are yet to be implemented. They are passed by the parliament, they are act now, but not yet implemented. Am I clear? Would you like to supplement?
Thanks, sir. Okay. So I think we've had a lovely conversation. I think delegates have also participated very well. That's why I wanted to come to you. So last question to all our esteemed panelists here, and we will close with that. One advice you will give to a young IR professor. Now, when I say young, young at heart, not necessarily only age-wise, for taking us into the future for transformative IR. Kafi kuch aapne kaha hai already, but any one idea. It could be related to technology, it could be related to mindset. What would you say, sir? And then we'll go to you.
Smart anchor. The thing is, every conclave has some takeaways for you. I'm sure you must be taking away something from this organization also, this conference. The way ahead is only the transparency. And that comes with digitization. So we are already in for that. We are already having ERP, we are already having SAP. Further, in local levels, we have to do everything in a transparent manner. So we have to digitize the things. Like, for example, if you have a grievance redressal system, why not to make it online? It should be real time. The individual who is having the complaint, having the grievances, the addressing system, the monitoring system, and the person sitting on top to monitor those developments within a time-bound manner. That gives you an idea that anything you can digitize, you can make online, you can bring transparency. That will help you in future IR, because in the post-COVID scenario, everything is going beyond physical conversations. AI is coming very fast, gripping ourselves. Social media is there. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry posting whatever they think. So that will be a challenge for all of you. And that will be, motivating factor for all of you. That will be enabling factor also. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Sabi gave emphasis to transparency. Very true. I will give another mantra that you know, of course, it is not nothing new. That is connectivity. Keep yourself connected to all the stakeholders, not formally, but informally. 2, 3 small, simple examples that I have unknowingly practiced that I will share with you if it is either helpful or whether it is, you can take it as a tip. A particular mine was having 3,000 to 4,000 manpower at that point of time. And when in the morning, right from 8 a.m. till 9 a.m., the personnel officer used to put his head like this, signing chutkas For what? They have come to join. Because 20 to 25% people always remain on leave or unauthorized absence, whatsoever it may be. So for first 1 hour, you don't find any, not even a single second to think anything about anything. After that, after this hectic session is over, what I used to do, I used to go to the pit top where the people were. Stand on just below the tree. Some people notice, they come to us. अरे सर आप क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ? मैंने कहा चला है यार, तुम लोगों से थोड़ा मिल ले. जैसे कल कोई बोल रहा था कि जो यूनियन गेट मीटिंग करता है तो क्या हम लोग नहीं कर सकते हैं? बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. क्यों नहीं कर सकते हैं? उससे हम अपने आप को कनेक्टेड रखेंगे. कोई आप सर चाय ले आऊं? मैंने यार चाय पी लिया हूं. तुम कैसे हो? बढ़िया है. अच्छा कितने बाल बच्चे हैं तुम्हारे? इतना है. सबका नाम डाल दिया सर्विस रिकॉर्ड में बच्चों का. अरे कल तुम्हारा लगता है कुछ अगर हो जाएगा तो कैसे क्या हो? सर एक टुकड़ा तो डाल दिया, दूसरे का नहीं डाला. अरे जल्दी करो जल्दी करो. तो वो सोचा रही सर मैं इतने मेरे लिए कितना सोच रहे हैं. कभी थोड़ा सा चले गए अंडरग्राउंड. अंडरग्राउंड जाके पीठ थपा रही, अरे बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. एक बार मैं अचानक अंडरग्राउंड गया तो देखा वहां हमारे जो वर्कर्स है चुपचाप बैठे हुए काम नहीं कर रहे हैं. मुझे पता नहीं था, मैं ऐसे ही उतर गया था. क्या है बाबू? बोले सर ये कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का ईटा वाला गाड़ी हम ठेल रहे हैं. पहले हमको 2 पैसा देता था, वो आज नहीं दे रहा है, तो मैं क्या करूं? क्यों करूं? अरे अच्छा मुश्किल है. तुम कॉन्ट्रैक्टर का गाड़ी ठेल रहे थे, तुमको पैसा देता, तुम्हारा वो अंडरहैंड डीलिंग था. तुम अगर गाड़ी नहीं ठेलोगे तो लॉस किसका हो रहा है? ये ईटा वाला गाड़ी जाएगा ऊपर, खाली होगा तो खलिया आएगा, तब ना तुम फिर कोयला लोड करके ऊपर उठाओगे. कंपनी का तो लॉस हो रहा है, कुलेरी का ही लॉस हो रहा है. उठाओ उठाओ. नहीं सर कैसे होगा? मैंने कहा अच्छा ठीक है, तुम्हारा प्रॉब्लम को मैं देखूंगा, मेरे बात पर तुम उठा. जो आदमी आधा घंटा से बैठा हुआ था वो बोलेगा अच्छा ठीक है आप बोल रहे हैं, आप जिम्मेदार ले रहे हैं? हाँ ठीक है मैं ले रहा हूँ. उठाया. बाद में मैं क्या किया नहीं किया वो अलग चीज है, लेकिन उस समय रिजल्व हो गया. इसके बाद कभी चले जाते थे कॉलोनी में, जाके वर्कर अपने ड्यूटी पे है या कहीं बाजार करने गया है, मैं उसका फैमिली में देखा कि कौन कौन है, वहां उनके घर में बैठ के चाय पी रहा हूँ. तो वो लेडी है चाहे उनके बच्चे हैं, उनसे एक इनफॉर्मल कनेक्टिविटी हो गया. तो जब मैं बैचलर था करीब 5 साल में, मेरी शादी नहीं हुई थी नौकरी के समय में, 60 to 70% मैं किसी का घर में रात का डिनर करता था. किस लिए? मुझे बुलावा आता था. वहां हम लोग बोलते थे धापी, एक चौतरा था. वहां शाम को ऑफिस के बाद हम वहां जाकर बैठते थे, गप करते थे. तो किसी ना किसी के घर से बुलाया जाता. सर थोड़ा सा चलिए ना. क्या करें? 2 रोटी खा लीजिएगा. अरे 2 रोटी यार मेरा तो है बना हुआ, ये जहां पर मैं खाता हूँ. नहीं क्या होगा, 2 रोटी और भिंडी का भुजिया चाहे परवल का भुजिया, मैं चला गया. चलो. तो ये डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली एक कनेक्टिविटी मेरा रहता था. तो इस तरह का इनफॉर्मल रिलेशनशिप आप कैसे माने इसे डेवलप करेंगे वो आपके ऊपर है. यस. तो इसी हिसाब से क्या होगा कि कल अगर कोई क्राइसिस होगा, ये सब आपको काम आएगा.
Yes, last word for today, and then we'll pause. Yeah.
So let me take the last opportunity. No, first I would like to supplement Mr. Misra ji. Transparency is good, but keep some space for privacy also. Not only in industrial relation, but in any relationship. If your spouse knows your mobile's password, it may be dangerous. So share everything, but keep some space, private space. And I will end with a story. Many of you, I think, know. Have you seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith? It's a Hollywood movie, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. They were a couple, husband and wife. Both of them were contract killers, supari killer. But they did not know it. Each kept it a secret. Both of them worked from different agencies. And at one time, they were given contract to kill each other. But ultimately, they joined they had a fight, and each was pointing the gun in each other's head. Then Brad Pitt put down the gun. He said that it is not possible for me to kill you. Angelina Jolie also put down her gun. And then they joined forces and acted against the agencies. From my perspective, it is very similar to IR situation. Workers and employers or managers are fighting with each other. Both of them, it may not be applicable for PSUs, but in general, both of them are influenced by some external agencies, external factors. For employers, it may be greed, it may be to maximize profit, sometimes at the cost of the workers. From workers' perspective, it is mistrust and a perceived sense of enmity. Now, what we can do about it? To join hands, we must realize what is more important. I'm coming back to the first point that I made. Whether business exists for us or we exist for business. Any enterprise, any institution, organization has possibility to become the best of itself. Every human being has the possibility of becoming the best version of itself, be it a worker, be it MD, general manager, whoever it is. Let us try to create an enabling situation, enabling, empowering situation where each of us can actualize our potential. If we can do that, automatically the IR situation will actualize itself. The organization will also actualize itself. So let us see the things from a different perspective. See any relation, any situation as a possibility to become the best version of itself. If that much we can do, I think we can become the best version of ourselves collectively. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, so I'll bring this to a close. You can think about Mr. and Mrs. Smith during lunch, but I'm going to thank our three panelists. Let's give them a big round of applause. Such an interesting one. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. So it was a great panel session, I must say, and everybody have enjoyed. Any questions from anyone? Oh, it's done. Or I don't think there are any more questions from anyone. So we'll call this an end. So any more questions you can discuss during the lunch hour. So we have among us our post-lunch session, Major Yogesh Guleria, the corporate trainer. So I request RP Nanda sir, DGM, to welcome sir with a bouquet. Please give a big round of applause. Okay, thank you, sir. Now I request Keshav Rao, sir, to present a memento to all our speakers and our panel anchor. So starting with Shri Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC. Okay, it's Dr. Kalol Dutt, ex-ALC. Next speaker too is Shri Kesh Patra, ex-director, Personal, Eastern Coalfields Limited. And speaker 3, Shri H.N. Mishra, director, Personal, Central Coalfields Limited. And BCCL also. And a panel anchor, Shri Rajesh Kamath, founder CCI and co-founder Chiranjeev Gurukul. Thank you so much, sir. And now I request everyone, let's move for the lunch. And it's half an hour. And please keep that in mind. And we request all to please come back by 30 minutes. I know it won't be possible, but still you all can try so that we can finish our day 2 within time.